Good evening, everyone. Today's October 20th. This is the monthly meeting of the Harrisburg Zoning Board. Okay. And to all the people in attendance, to my left is Mr. Hobbs, James Hobbs. Okay. Left, right. To my left, Mr. Michael Prakash, our solicitor. And to his left is Mike Connors. In front of me is the Director of Planning for the City of Harrisburg. And to his right is somebody from the City Law Office, Ms. Cameron, representing the city. Okay, and I'm Claude Phipps. Okay. So, turn it over. Are you ready?
Yep, we're ready to go. Sure. Well, I just want to remind everybody that the Zoning Hearing Board is a quasi-judicial body. We're going to hear evidence tonight on 5 different applications. For all these applications, we will have Jeffrey Knight, the Planning Director of the City of Harrisburg, here, and Attorney Tirsa Cameron from the City of Harrisburg Law Bureau. The Zoning Hearing Board, once it receives evidence from each one of the applicants, it'll apply the law. Law in this case is the municipality's planning code, the City of Harrisburg zoning code, and also relevant case law. We have a court reporter here. By law, we have a court reporter who's going to take down word for word what everybody says in case one of these cases should be appealed. So that being said, we want to make sure that we don't talk over one another so that we have an accurate transcript. And also, I just want to remind everybody to silence their electronic devices so there's no interruptions. The first matter this evening is matter number 2615. It's a special exception request relative to the property located at 2017 North 6th Street. This property is zoned general, commercial general, CG, and the application was filed by Robbie Singh with 2017 North 6th Street LLC to request relief from the off-street parking requirements associated with the redevelopment of the site in question and expansion of a convenience store. So with that being said, we're going to first swear in Mr. Knight, who's the planning director. And Mr. Knight, when we swear you in, you'll be sworn in for every application this evening. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the board will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Doman, you're representing your client this evening. You want to introduce yourself, and also anybody that you might have testify, we'll swear them in all together and get that out of the way.
Okay. Good afternoon, board. My name is Jacob Doman. I'm an attorney with Stevens & Lee, here on behalf of the applicant, 2017 North 6th Street. With me today is Sean Haas, to my left here, and then as well Robbie Singh, the member of the LLC. And they will both be testifying. Sean Haas more directly. Robbie's here for if the board has any questions.
Okay. Mr. Haas, you gave the court reporter your card?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we have the right spelling. Your last name is spelled how?
H-A-A-S.
Okay. Okay, and then Mr. Singh, you're here present also. Could you both raise your right hands so we'll swear you in together? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give before this board this evening will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Knight, what we usually do is we'll have the planning director give an overview and then you could present your case. Okay, so Mr. Knight, would you like to give us an overview?
Yes. So the project for case 2615 involves the redevelopment of the existing gas station with convenience store aspect or development into a larger convenience store component of that use. As part of this project, they will be demolishing the existing structure on site and constructing a more modern, larger convenience store at the eastern end of the property, which is currently a gravel lot enclosed by a chain link fence. And as part of this proposal, because the off-street parking requirements are based on the square footage of the retail store, the increase in the size of that component of the project necessitates a significant increase in the amount of off-street parking required. And because the applicants are not able to meet that on site, they are requesting a special exception for relief from the off-street parking requirements. I believe under the current zoning code, the current configuration would require about 25 spaces, and I believe the new one would require 58 off-street parking spaces. And the applicants will be providing 31 spaces on site. As noted in the Planning Bureau's case report, we do feel that there are justifications based on the criteria in the zoning code to grant the requested relief, both because there is available on-street parking along adjacent and nearby roads, specifically North 6th Street, south of the project site, as well as on some of the streets between North 6th Street and North 7th Street nearby. There are also several bus routes that go up and down 6th Street and across Maclay Street. But from a more practical perspective, the proposed use generally has a fairly transient customer base with short turnaround times. You might get a significant amount of traffic coming to the property, but it's likely that customers will only be there for several minutes at a time, and so there's anticipated to be significant turnover of those parking spaces. And it should be noted that the existing use, again, while a smaller building, has not really experienced any issues with off-street parking and with parking from the use overflowing onto surrounding streets. And given the increase in proposed number of spaces on site, it is anticipated that this condition would continue going forward. Again, as noted, I think it's unlikely somebody takes a bus to a gas station, but there are bus routes alongside the site that would meet the criteria outlined in the zoning code. So with respect to that, the Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicant should consider removing the westernmost proposed curb cut on the Maclay Street frontage of the property, given its proximity to the intersection and potential to create confusing and dangerous traffic circulation for both drivers and pedestrians, with traffic anticipated to increase upon completion of the building directly to the north, and that's the Atlas building across Maclay Street. Pedestrian volumes will likely increase at this intersection as well. And it should be noted the applicants are removing one of the curb cuts onto the property, the northernmost one on North 6th Street. So we're basically requesting a similar removal of this, but it's more of a recommendation than like a requirement. The applicant must coordinate with Capital Region Water regarding the site disturbance and proposed development footprint to ascertain what stormwater mitigation efforts may be necessary. The applicant should consider installing low plant screenings in the setback areas around the perimeter of the site to improve the aesthetics of the property and/or incorporate stormwater management infrastructure if possible. The applicant must ensure that the proposed dumpster enclosure is designed and constructed in conformance with the regulations in section 7-331.12 of the zoning code. And finally, the applicant must ensure that signage for the redeveloped site is brought into conformance with the zoning code and that current non-conforming signage such as feather flag signs and electronically changing signage is removed and not reinstalled. The Planning Commission recommends that the Harrisburg Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. The proposed development will replace an outdated makeshift structure and overgrown undeveloped lot with a blighting influence on the streetscape with a modern convenience store building that will enhance retail options for surrounding residents and workers. Because the use is already operating on site, approval of the proposal will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood and will provide benefits such as temporary construction jobs, aesthetic improvements, and improved traffic circulation. And finally, the project will result in the removal of one unnecessary curb cut along North 6th Street, and if the Bureau's conditions are adopted, a second curb cut along Maclay Street, clarifying vehicular access to the site, removing vehicular pedestrian conflict points, and making access and circulation safer for all road users.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Is there anybody here that is opposed to this application? Okay. Before we start, I'm going to mark exhibits that the board has received, so we have them on the record. I've marked these as all board exhibits. So board exhibit number 1, B1, is the proof of publication. The time and place and particular nature of this matter was advertised in the Patriot News, which is a newspaper of general circulation for the city of Harrisburg. It appeared in publication on October 5th and October 12th, 2025. Exhibit B2 is a letter dated October 16, 2025, from Planning Director Jeffrey Knight to the applicant, notifying the applicant of the time and place of the hearing. Board exhibit number 3 is the hearing notice, which was posted upon the property, and that occurred on September 25th, 2025. Board exhibit number 4 are the notification letters to the required neighbors and the certificate of mailings. Board exhibit number 5 is the application packet with the attached narrative, photos of the property, and plans for the proposal. Board exhibit number 6 is the deed establishing the applicant's standing to pursue zoning relief this evening. Board exhibit number 7, B7, is the Planning Bureau case report. And board exhibit number 8 is the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. So we have board exhibits 1 through 8, which will be admitted into evidence in this matter. And then Mr. Doman, it's all yours.
Thank you, Attorney Pykosh. Again, my name is Jake Doman with Stevens and Lee, here on behalf of the applicant, 2017 North 6th Street LLC. The applicant is the owner of a .52 acre tract of land located at 2017 North 6th Street. As Mr. Knight has testified, the property is located in the Commercial General Zoning District, and it's currently improved with an existing convenience store and fueling station, which are permitted uses under the zoning ordinance. The project before the board is the applicant's looking to redevelop the property. The current conditions are looking a bit tired. They were built back in 1965, so they want to redevelop the property to construct a new roughly 4,320 square foot convenience store, remove a portion of the fueling canopy that's currently disrupting internal access drives on the property, as well as renovate the parking area and internal drive aisles. The status of the application, we submitted the application to the City of Harrisburg as a dimensional variance on September 4th, 2025. At the Planning Commission meeting on October 1st, the Harrisburg staff recommended that we seek a special exception rather than a dimensional variance. The applicant just wants the board to know that to us, methodology doesn't really matter. Regardless, whichever relief that the board sees fit, we're just looking to have a bit of a reduction in the general parking on site. But today we're going to be talking about the special exception as it relates to section 7-327.8, which is the standard set forth for reduction of off-street parking requirements. With me today is Sean Haas. He's a professional engineer with Langen Engineering, as well as the applicant, Ravi Singh. He's more here if the board has any questions about the business itself or the operations. I have exhibits to hand out as well. Much of the exhibits that you'll find in these binders are similar or the same exhibits as the ones that were admitted by Attorney Pykosh. To get started, Sean, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Sean Haas. I am employed with Langen Engineering. Our home office, or my home office, is in Doylestown, PA, located at 2700 Kelly Road, Suite 200. Warrington, PA is the actual address. I'm a senior project manager with the firm. I've been there for not quite 15 years, and I head our site civil department out at that office. General responsibility is I oversee our site civil team, including the design and management of a whole facet of different projects, which includes numerous convenience stores in Pennsylvania.
And are you a licensed engineer in Pennsylvania?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional engineer in PA, and I'm also a certified professional in erosion and sediment control.
Are you familiar with the site and surrounding area?
Yes, I am.
And if we turn to applicant Exhibit A1, can you tell me what this is?
So this is the cover letter for our zoning application.
Okay. And the entire exhibit is the actual application itself as well as the narrative attachment, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And are you familiar with the City of Harrisburg zoning ordinance?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with the needs of the applicant in developing the property?
Yes.
Okay. And if you turn to Exhibit A2, can you tell the board what that is?
So this is the deed for the property.
Okay. And the ownership is vested in 2017 North 6th Street, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then if we can move to Exhibit A3, is this the concept plan that was submitted with the application?
Yes, it is. It's a concept plan prepared directly with my oversight and by my team, last dated June 13th of this year.
Okay. And does it show both the existing conditions as well as the proposed project plan?
It does. In the forefront is the proposed plan, which is the 4,320 square foot building with the associated curbing and striping adjustments to fit the parking that we have currently proposed with the driveway adjustments. In the background, you can see the existing building, the existing fuel canopy, and the existing curbing connections for the driveways as well.
And can you just briefly discuss the existing conditions, how the site looks today?
Yeah. And for the folks in the audience, we also have the exhibit A3 over there to the left, so I can show that. But generally, just to orient everybody to the plan, so north is at a slight skew, but generally to the top of the plan. To the north, we have Maclay Street. To the west, we have North 6th Street. To the right, we have Wallace Street, and then to the south of the property, we have commercial uses. The site, as Jake previously mentioned, the site's located in the Commercial General Zoning District. It's also generally surrounded by other commercial and residential uses.
Okay. And the parking numbers of the existing building and site, those are more approximate. Can you tell me why?
Yeah, so it's more approximate, and we do have a survey for the site, but we also have, aerial photography. We've also stopped by the site a few times. Generally, the site's in need of a bit of a uplift here. Reason being, the striping isn't really existent on site anymore. So there's some striped out spaces immediately adjacent to the existing building, but largely it's a paved open corridor with limited signing, stripage, or kind of anything to help you maneuver throughout the site. We do approximate the parking spaces as 20, and that's utilizing all space available, and it also includes the 8 fuel stations at each one of the gas canopies.
And that number 20, that's if everyone parks in a very organized fashion, correct?
That's correct, and it does include the 8 fueling stations as well. I mean, right now, as it is, it's more of a free-for-all on the property.
And if we flip over to Exhibit A4, can you just tell us what this exhibit is?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, A4 is generally some of those site photos either taken from Google Street View or an aerial photo of the site, but it confirms the notes that I said there. I mean, you can see the existing building, you see the fueling canopy and the stations there, some of the other site improvements associated with the convenience use. You see both of the existing curb cuts and driveways off of Maclay Street and North 6th Street, and to the east, or on the middle photo on Exhibit A4, you can see the vacant property along Maclay Street.
And that vacant property is where the new building is going to be?
Yes.
Okay. So talking about the new building, we'll go back to Exhibit A3 here. Can you discuss the proposed modifications of the building or of the property?
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, the general idea is just to bring this site up to modern standards. Part of that is proposing a slightly larger building that can provide additional services or just more square footage for the retail use. But with the property, so the property already includes the vacant area along Maclay Street. So what we're proposing is to utilize that area for the development of the building. We're proposing a 4,320 square foot building. It's roughly 48 by 90 if you want to think of it in that dimension. But we're taking the building off of the southern property line, rotating it and aligning it to the eastern property line. With that, and as mentioned previously by Mr. Knight, there was two driveways off of North Sixth Street. We're consolidating those into one driveway, slightly larger width. We have two driveways off of North Sixth Street. Those are being shifted slightly. The westernmost driveway is being shifted to provide a greater distance off of the intersection with North Sixth Street, meeting township ordinance for center-to-center offset from North Sixth Street. But we're maintaining those two driveways. And basically, by having that configuration where we have a shared driveway off of North Sixth Street and two driveways off of McClay Street, we can propose two-way circulation throughout the site. There's no dead-end parking. There's full access to the canopies. If you have a gas, if your gas connection for your vehicle is on an opposing side, you can still swing around and get there without having complications with traffic backing up or anything like that. But ultimately, with this, we're also proposing to delineate those parking spaces. So we have 31 parking spaces, which is, I guess with the general statement that we have 20 in the existing condition, we're increasing it by 11. Based on our experience with convenience stores, we think that's plenty suitable for this type of use. We're meeting ADA standards by proposing 2 ADA spaces against the building and also relocating and enhancing the trash enclosure that's there as well.
Okay, and just 2 points of clarification. This is an entirely new building. It's not in addition to the existing building, is that correct?
That's correct. The existing building will be demolished as part of this.
Okay. And then the other point too, with regards to the access points, the applicant is expanding the one driveway on McClay Street, North Sixth Street, but removing the other one, correct?
That's correct. And the driveway that's being removed is the driveway closer to the intersection with McClay Street.
And the area of the proposed building, that was already impervious coverage?
Yeah, it's a compacted gravel, and that can be seen on Exhibit A4. But yeah, the site as it stands is almost entirely impervious coverage.
Okay, so we're not really adding, or if we are adding any, we're not adding very much impervious coverage to the site?
Correct.
Okay. Let's move on to the actual relief that we're here for today, now that we have a general background of the project. So we are seeking a special exception pursuant to section 7327.8, which is the reduction in off-street parking requirements. Are you familiar with that section?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Is it your understanding that this section allows for a reduction in off-street parking if some of the criteria listed there can be met?
Yes, it can be at the discretion of the zoning hearing
Yes.
board.
Okay, so let's go through some of the criteria that we found applicable, as well as what Mr. Knight found applicable as well. And we'll keep this brief since Mr. Knight had already testified on some of this. So adequate commercial or public parking is available in the vicinity, is that correct?
Yes, on-street parking is available in the general vicinity of the site, including locations within about 1 or 2 blocks of the site.
And you testified that you believe, in your professional opinion, that 31 spaces are sufficient. Can you just explain as to why?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the nature of the use. So I mean, it's a convenience store. It's not a strip retail store or grocery store or something like that. The idea is to get in, get what you need, get out, or stop at the fueling station. Maybe you go in the store from there and then get out. So it's short-term parking, frequent customer turnover, for both the convenience store use and the fueling stations.
And then if we flip to Exhibit A5, which is the report from the, this is the Planning Borough's case report. Did the staff in the borough provide comments regarding this criterion?
Yes, they did.
And what was their comment?
Generally, they believe that we satisfy the various criteria.
Okay, and then 7-327.8, parentheses 2. This is public transportation service is deemed adequate to provide the needs for such use. Can you describe whether or not you believe the applicant meets this criterion?
Yeah, so to my knowledge, there's multiple bus routes in the area along both streets. There's also a bus stop immediately against North Sixth Street on the west side of the property.
And although bus stops doesn't seem very useful for a gas station. This is also a convenience store, and people can go inside and buy merchandise. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then for the other three, 7-327.8, parentheses 3 through 5, generally, do you believe this criteria is applicable to the project?
No, the use does not have multiple tenants, so it's a one-tenant convenience store with the fueling use. Nor does it have a need for mass transit, other than, you know, folks stopping by quickly for the use of the convenience store.
Okay. And as stated, does pursuant to section 7-327.8, does the applicant have to satisfy all of the criteria listed there?
No.
So moving on to the general special exception requirements, and these are found in 7-323.6, point B, parentheses 1. Are you familiar with this special exception regulations in the ordinance?
Yes, I am.
So the first one is such use will not clearly be in conflict with the other city ordinances or state or federal laws or regulations. The use of the convenience store and fueling stations is permitted in this district, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Will the applicant be compliant with all city, state, and federal laws?
That is our intent, yes.
Okay. So generally, you believe we satisfy the standard?
I do.
For parentheses B, such use will include proper traffic ingress and egress to the property, with particular attention paid to vehicle and pedestrian safety, and will involve proper access for emergency vehicles. Are you familiar with this ordinance standard?
Yes.
Okay. Is the applicant providing changes to the overall layout to improve public safety?
Yes, we are, as I defined earlier, as we went over Exhibit A3. You know, generally, I think we're enhancing the property quite a bit by proposing striped-out parking spaces, delineating drive aisles, meeting the width requirements of the ordinance, by reducing the number of driveway connections to North Sixth Street, and then also by shifting the westernmost driveway on McClay Street away from the intersection.
And you mentioned that the applicant's also removing a portion of the canopy. Can you describe how that is also improving safety?
Yeah, so that canopy column was essentially connected to the existing building. If we demo the existing building, it would be a free-floating column in the middle of a drive aisle. Obviously not the best situation, so that will be removed. There'll be a structural analysis associated with the canopy to make sure that it stays in good structural shape. But by doing so, that allowed us to propose the parking and drive aisle configuration shown on Exhibit A3.
Thank you. And did the staff provide, the Harrisburg planning staff, provide a comment regarding whether or not the project is improving safety?
They did.
And what was their comment?
They believe that the project represents an improvement for pedestrian access and safety.
Okay, and that can be found in Exhibit A5, is that correct?
Correct.
And did they also provide any recommendations regarding access?
There were several recommendations. One of them was to consider removing the westernmost proposed curb cut on McClay Street.
Okay. And is the applicant considering this?
We are considering it. We did do an investigation between our last representation at the Planning Commission and tonight. Langen has a traffic engineering team internal to our team. I met with them earlier today to review this. Ultimately, we think that what we're proposing is an improvement to the condition that's out there right now. By reviewing the ordinance, section 7327.10.c, the allowable offset from an intersection measured center to center is 75 feet, and we're showing 85 feet with the proposed improvement. It's a shift of about 22 feet to the east. So we think that meets the ordinance and the requirements associated with this. We did, further review that requirement versus PA code. I have an exhibit in front of me. It's chapter 441.9. And it's a driveway layout illustration. Ultimately, this shows a curb measurement from North Sixth Street to the curb measurement for the driveway. If it's 20 feet, that's suitable per PA code, and we meet that almost twofold. So ultimately, by taking those two together, we think that one, we're proposing an improvement to the site. Two, if we blocked off this intersection, would be causing a dead-end traffic pattern. That dead-end traffic pattern plus circulation getting into both sides of the fueling pumps Once again, noting that there could be fueling on each side of the vehicle, meaning you want to pull in on opposite sides. We think it's best that this stays open, because if not, I think you're looking at the potential for more conflicts.
And that's conflicts both inside the property and also external, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the applicant has also looked at alternatives to this as well. Can you briefly just describe whether or not those alternatives seem to be more fruitful than the current design?
Yeah, the alternative would be dead-end parking. So you close it off, you create a dead end. Ultimately, it's gonna be more difficult to get into these fueling stations, and that's where, cars trying to access the northwest corner, the parking in the northwest corner, if they're trying to get there, but there's a car making a clockwise movement around the fuel canopies, trying to get in the same spot, you could end up with, those kind of traffic circulation conflict that I mentioned previously.
And the applicant is still considering this and investigating the issue, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and will the applicant, during the permitting period, be in contact with Harrisburg staff to discuss the comment, the consideration to remove that curb cut and provide them with our findings?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on then to section 7-323.6.b, parentheses 3. The applicant shall show that the use will not create a significant public safety hazard, including fire, toxic, or explosive hazards. Will this use create a public safety hazard?
So, as mentioned in my previous testimony, we're proposing a new building. We're not changing the use, so it's still gonna be a fueling station with that convenience store. The underground fueling tanks are located to the southwest of the existing canopy, and those will be remaining as is. So, do I believe that this will create a public safety hazard? No, as the underground fueling tanks will stay as is, and they're currently compliant with all necessary regulations, federal and state. Any improvements that we do make to the site will also have to be compliant.
And for parentheses 4, such use will not significantly negatively affect the character of an existing residential neighborhood, such as causing substantial amounts of heavy truck traffic to travel through a residential neighborhood, or a significant odor or noise nuisance, or very late night, early morning hours of operation. Can you just discuss whether or not, in your opinion, you believe that the proposed changes to the site will cause any of those issues?
Yeah, so it's a very similar statement. The use isn't changing. We're not proposing additional fueling stations. So ultimately, we have a bit slightly bigger building that we're proposing, but it's the same use, just a larger footprint for, more goods and services. Ultimately, the use is surrounded by other commercial users, and that it's been on there since, I believe, as Mr. Doman mentioned, 1965. So over 50 years. So although the store size is increasing, we do not expect a greater impact on the neighborhood or additional truck traffic.
And for the additional truck traffic, the amount of fueling stations are going to remain the same. Is that correct?
Correct. There are
So,
8.
okay. So there's not going to be more fueling stations, hence more fuel trucks having to come and refill the property.
Correct.
And overall, would you say that the redevelopment will improve the character of the neighborhood and may also encourage further redevelopment in the area, as it's being really a facelift of one of the properties nearby?
Yeah, absolutely. I think enhancing this building on a critical corner for the city is a great move and can bring in new business.
All right, so moving on to parentheses 5. Such use will involve adequate site design methods, including plant screening, walls, fences, berms, site layout, proper direction and shielding of outdoor lighting to avoid glare, setbacks of refuse areas and loading facilities, as well as other setbacks as needed to avoid significant negative impacts on adjacent uses. The development of the site will be compliant with all regulations while we go through the permitting period. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And one of the conditions offered by the planning borough was for the plantings on the small size plantings around the edges of the property. Based on your discussions with the applicant, are they willing to accept that condition?
Yes.
Parentheses 6, the applicant shall show that the use will comply with the environmental performance standards of the zoning code as stated in chapter 7-331. Does this project comply with this section?
Yes.
Okay, and then is it the same use, it's just getting a facelift?
Exactly.
Okay. And then the final one, parentheses 7, the applicant shall prove that any demolition or negative impacts upon any buildings with historically significant architecture on the site have been reasonably minimized. Is there a historic structure, or are there any historic structures on site?
Not to my knowledge, so this section would not apply to this development.
Okay. And is it your opinion that the applicant satisfies the special exception criteria pursuant to sections 7-327.8 regarding reduction in off-street parking, as well as section 7-323.6.b?
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I believe that's a great summary of what we're proposing to do and why.
Okay. And then the final exhibit, Exhibit A6, this is just the list of all the neighbors that the mailing was sent out to. We also have the full list of the letters with the certified mailings there as well. I believe you entered that into the record, is that correct?
We did.
Okay. With that, the applicant rests its case and offers the board the chance to ask us any questions.
Okay. Does the board have any questions of Mr. Haas? No.
I did. The property in question, I'm very familiar with that property, okay? You're relocating the convenience store to, right? Say, you're gonna take the fence down that's fenced off in that area, and that's area you're gonna relocate the convenience store. Okay, and then what borders that is Wallace Street, okay? Will there be any type of fencing put up at the back of the convenience store to? No, will there be any other type of fencing or structures put behind that?
I believe there's fencing there now, so that fencing would stay. If, additional or upgraded fencing was a regulation of the city or within the ordinance, we would certainly intend to meet that.
Okay.
As we provided testimony on earlier, one of the conditions of the planning commission was to provide some additional planting, so we'll also be looking to install those types of improvements with the relocated building.
Okay, so you wouldn't see any entry to the convenience store area from Wallace Street? You're gonna either come up McClay Street or off of Sixth Street to enter into this?
So the front door will certainly be internal to the site. So if you think of a typical entrance to the building, it'll be near the ADA parking spaces that are on the west side of the convenience store. At this point, we don't have an architectural layout for the building, so this was kind of step one of a multi-step process. There may be some level of an access door off of the east side of the building. We have provided a minimum of 5 feet off of that wall. So there is a 5-yard front yard setback, so we did consider Wallace Street a front yard in terms of meeting that requirement. I believe the building is a minimum of, I'm looking at our exhibit A3, it's a minimum of 5.8 feet off of the right-of-way of Wall Street.
Okay. Couple more notes. Let's talk about security, because you're gonna basically relocate the building for a new, you're relocating on the property. What type of security are you gonna provide?
Security, so I believe there'd be, go ahead.
A convenience store.
I think Robbie might be able to answer that one a bit better. So you said the security for the property?
Yes, yeah, again, it's a convenience store, so will there be cameras, will there be any type of controlled entry points, or?
Security cameras and security alarms.
You-
That's what I have on the property right now.
Okay. And let's go one last question. Okay, security. The pump area. I noticed you're not relocating the pumps, but the cutaway for, I guess, the refueling of the gas tanks underneath, you're not changing those, you're not moving those, but I'm looking at the parking spots that you designate in your example. And that's pretty darn close for those parking spots, are they not?
So we're proposing a minimum drive aisle on both the west and the south side of the fueling canopy. So if you look at Exhibit A3, we have shaded boxes at each one of the fueling stations.
Right.
Those shaded boxes meet the minimum length and width requirements for a parking space. So if you take that parking space and then offset it by 26 feet, that's the drive aisle that we're showing and meets ordinance requirements. In terms of loading, loading will continue to be performed as it is right now. We believe that is backing in off of Sixth Street into the loading zone, which is on the southwest corner of the site, off of that southwest driveway.
Yes, I seen your example of the new cutaway from Sixth Street. It cut, you're relocating it from where it's at now. So right now, those fill up you get this, where you basically your fuel resupply, those pumps, doesn't sit directly, there's a little barricade there. I mean, there's a little cutaway that you don't drive in right off of Sixth Street. You have to pull in and then turn around, and your supply trucks have to turn around to refill those those underground tanks. In the cutout, it's like it's right over top of them, per se.
Yeah, so it's over top the tanks, but it's not over top the filling lanes.
Okay.
So there's manholes associated with that underground tank, and those are in the open paved area.
Okay, so that's it for me. I asked the question. I apologize for so many questions that way, but yeah, because I'm very familiar with that. I grew up a block away from there. And I remember when it was built in 1965. Okay, so yes, I'm very familiar. So thank you.
I had a question for Mr. Knight. If this moves forward, there'll be a land development plan? Or
We don't require land development plan when it's just like the relocation. Effectively, it's a relocation of a building on site, even though the footprint is expanding. The actual impervious surface coverage isn't going to change as part of that expansion because we consider the compacted gravel to be an impervious surface for the point of calculating that in the zoning code.
Okay, but either you or the city engineer will check the flow of traffic within the site to make sure?
Yeah, I mean, the city engineer will definitely take a look at it, especially because there's going to be impacts to the public right-of-way with the changes in the curb cuts. He'll take a look at it, make sure it conforms to best practices from an engineering perspective. And as the applicants noted, they have relocated the westernmost curb cut along McClay Street further to the east, which brings it into conformance with the zoning code, but also likely, brings into more conformance with engineering standards for something like that.
Okay.
Yep.
And do you have any questions of the two witnesses?
I do not.
Attorney Cameron, do you have any questions? Okay. Go ahead. Sure.
Right now, it's, our zoning code says need 58 slots, and you've been able to account for 31 slots, which means there's 27 slots. You should still try 27 slots. Hypothetical, what if we would say, well, no, we gotta come up with those 27 slots or some portion of that? Do you have an alternative plan? Or are you just asking for, cut it back to the 31 slots and give us the mulligan on that? What?
I would say, so first off, based on my experience, I have some experience with other gas station companies that I shall not name, but typically a building of maybe 6,000 to 7,000 square feet would have an optimal parking space of 46. So not even up to that 58. There's a lot more turnover with those type of, convenience stores. With this one, ultimately, to answer your question, if we had to propose 58 spaces, I don't think we'd be proposing a new building. So I think without this relief, the city and the neighboring, or the local neighborhoods lose the idea of an upgraded building and facility.
So you're banking on the fact of the transient portion of part of the customers coming in and out. They're not there to stay. They're not there, 15, 20, 25 minutes at the max. So those parking spots should be getting turned over pretty frequently.
Exactly.
And that's what you're counting on.
And that's exactly right. That's what we've testified to.
I'd also like to add that it was also that there is adequate on-street parking as well as the public transportation nature of the use. Although bus stops aren't going to be the most frequent customer, there are every so often someone that's coming in for the convenience aspect of the store rather than the fueling aspect.
I don't think there's any parking allowed on McClay Street between 6th and 7th Street, but 6th Street, going down to Minnick, there's plenty of parking spots, and there's also a lot across the street.
Correct, and there's parking on like Peffer Street, which
Yeah.
is just a block to the south as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
So the question, so with this new building, is there going to be any changes to the business in terms of hours of operation or any other, I guess, services or functions that are not currently existing?
It's staying the same.
Does the board want to take a break, or do you want to move? Okay, all right. Mr. Doman, you indicated that you rested, so you rest your case. Your exhibits will be admitted into the evidence in this matter. The case is closed for testimony, and the board could deliberate or make a motion at this point in time.
I'd like to make a motion to approve of the request, case 2615, with the recommendations from the Planning Bureau stated.
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Well, congratulations. Your special exception was granted with the conditions as set forth by the Planning Commission, those 4 conditions. And Mr. Dorman, you'll receive a written decision within 45 days of today's hearing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Have a nice evening.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, you're good.
Yep, not a problem.
Let us know when you're ready.
Okay.
Okay. Next case on the agenda is 2616. This is a variance and a special exception application for the properties located at 1332 North 2nd Street and 122 Calder Street. The properties are zoned residential medium density. This was an application filed by Adam Brenneman with Brenneman Properties LLC to expand the existing non-conforming multifamily dwelling use on the site by adding 8 new units to the 5 existing units on site by converting a space occupied by a former funeral home. The applicant is also seeking to utilize existing surface parking lots on the properties as a parking lot or structure commercial use. I'm going to mark some exhibits in this matter that we received. Board exhibit number 1 is the proof of publication, the time and place and particular nature. This matter was advertised in the Patriot News. Publication occurred on October 5th and October 12th of 2025. Board exhibit number 2 is a letter dated October 16, 2025, from the planning director, Jeffrey Knight, to the applicant, notifying the applicant of the time and place of the hearing. Board exhibit number 3 is the hearing notice posted upon the property in question that occurred on September 25th, 2025. Board exhibit number 4 are the notification letters to required neighbors and the certificate of mailing. Board Exhibit number 5 is the application packet with the attached narrative, photos of the property, and floor plans for the proposal. Board Exhibit number 6 is the agreement of sale for the property, establishing the applicant's standing to pursue zoning relief this evening. Board Exhibit number 7 is the deed to the property, identifying the seller in the B6 agreement of sale as the current owner of the property. Board Exhibit number 8 is the Planning Bureau case report. Board Exhibit number 9 is the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. Jeffrey Knight, the planning director, was previously sworn in and he'll remain sworn in. I just want to ask if there's anybody here this evening in opposition to this application.
I don't know if there's opposition, but there is certainly concern from residents in the community.
Okay. We're gonna, could you, okay. Could you state your name, please?
Sure, my name is Zach Fisher.
Okay, and where do you reside in relation to this project?
About half block away, we're at 116 Calder Street.
Okay. So there's two ways that you could participate in this matter. One way is to participate as a party. And if you participate as a party, you could cross-examine any witnesses, and you could present your own evidence in the case. The other way is, you can make a statement towards the end of the case once the applicant has presented their case, and you could tell the board why you're in opposition or what your concerns are.
When do I need to make that determination?
We would need to make that now.
If I decide to be a party, am I allowed, I guess I don't have to ask questions, right?
You
I just
don't.
have to make a decision.
Right.
Okay, so, if I'm a party, am I also allowed to make a statement at the end?
Yes.
And then I guess I'll be a party.
Okay. Let's,
I also have concerns too.
okay.
It's 113 Calder.
Okay, how close are you to the project?
Very close. I rent spaces in the parking lot at 122 Calder Street, as some of the other neighbors do as well. So there's questions with the commercial parking.
Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll get back to both of you, okay? All right. Mr. Petrina, do you want to introduce your client, and we'll swear your client in?
Sure, yeah. My name is Phil Petrina. I'm an attorney at McNeese Wallace and Eric. I'm here on behalf of Brenneman Properties LLC. With me tonight is an employee of Brenneman Properties. I'll have him introduce himself.
Michael White, owner's rep for Brenneman Properties and the project in general.
Okay. Mr. White, we're going to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the board is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. And Mr. Petrina, we had Zach Fisher here, who indicated that he resides at 116 Calder Street, wants to be a party to this action. Do you have any objection?
I have no objection to that, no.
Okay. And then the same with Betsy Dunn, located, I'm sorry? Spell your last name for the record?
D-U-M.
D-U-M. Okay. And you reside or you own property at 113 Calder Street? Yes? Okay. Do you have any objection to this individual?
No objection.
Okay. So they'll be identified or recognized as parties to this action. Ms. Dunn and Mr. Fisher, could you raise your right hands? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give during these proceedings will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Knight, do you want to give an overview of this project?
Sure. So the issues involved in case 2616 for 1332 North Second Street and 122 Calder Street are a variance and a special exception. The special exception is to expand an existing nonconforming use, which is the multifamily dwelling, as there are 5 existing units on the upper floors of the building, and the applicants are proposing to establish 8 units on the first floor in the area of the buildings, the building that was formerly occupied by a funeral home. Then the variance aspect is for use of the remaining spaces in the surface parking lots that will not be dedicated to the required off-street parking for the residents, the current residents and proposed residents, to be utilized as a commercial parking lot. And the board will probably remember they received a similar proposal several months ago for just the use of the parking lots as commercial parking lots. So this proposal is a bit different in that, I think there was some expressed concern from the board members at the last meeting about, well, we don't know what's going to go into the remaining space in the existing building, and therefore what the off-street parking requirements would be. If it were something, for example, like a convenience store, like was just reviewed, the off-street parking requirements would be fairly onerous on that regard, or even like a restaurant, which might be 2 viable uses for that space, in which case more of the existing parking in the 2 lots would be required for that proposed use. Now that the prospective owners of the site have identified a use and are proposing that use, the off-street parking requirements for the full building will be known now, and it will be total of 15 units, I believe, and a total of 16 units, which would leave between the existing accessory lot at 1332 North 2nd Street and 122 Calder Street, remaining 30 spaces. So the applicants are requesting a variance to utilize those spaces as a commercial parking lot to lease to surrounding residents or perhaps employees of local businesses. In looking at the multifamily dwelling aspect, again, as noted, there is existing multifamily dwelling use, 5 units on site. The applicants have provided a site plan of the, or a floor plan of the proposed building and how those units will be laid out. To the Bureau's knowledge, the existing tenants have not created issues for the neighborhood, and therefore it's likely the proposed units would have a similar impact with respect to the primary impact off-street or the parking demand generated by whatever use is in that building. This is a unique situation where the applicants can actually provide all the parking on site and in fact have a surfeit of parking such that there's going to be about 2/3 of those spaces will not be required for the use. It should also be noted that given the area of the property, the applicants would be permitted to have up to 14 apartment units on site without requiring any zoning relief. They're requesting a total of 13, so they are within the density regulations of the zoning code. With all of that being said, the Planning Commission has recommended the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. If granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant must submit a land development plan for the establishment of 13 residential units on site. And the applicant has provided that documentation to the Planning Bureau. Any existing or any exterior alterations to the property must be submitted for review by the city's historic preservation specialist and may require HARB approval of a certificate of appropriateness application. The applicant must remove the bollards from the sidewalk along the Lawton Street frontage of 122 Calder Street and reconstruct the sidewalk at that location to allow safe pedestrian passage. And if you've been out there, there's just 2 or 3 concrete bollards there. A couple of them seem to have been knocked over and kind of damaged the sidewalk at the same time, but those bollards are located in the middle of the sidewalk, so we're requesting those be removed and the sidewalk be reconstructed. Then finally, the Planning Bureau recommends the applicant identify a method of controlling access to the lots, either through automated keyed entry gates or through on-site management of the lots, to prevent unauthorized access and ensure spaces are available for the principal users of the lot, the residents of the multifamily dwelling use. The Planning Commission has recommended that the zoning hearing board approve the request for the following reasons. The proposed expansion of the multifamily dwelling use from 5 to 13 units represents a reasonable proposal for reuse of the former funeral home space on the first floor. Is likely to have less impacts than other potential uses for the space, such as a convenience store or restaurant, and will provide new housing units to address the need evident in the city generally and the neighborhood specifically. With respect to the proposed parking lot or structure or commercial aspect of the proposal, the Planning Bureau notes it does not require zoning relief for any proposed development or use, but rather who would be using the existing parking spaces, and thus represents a de minimis deviation from the zoning regulations, which meets the applicable criteria in the zoning code. 3, while surface parking lots are generally not advisable from a planning perspective, as they represent an underutilization of valuable urban land and create impacts such as stormwater runoff and urban heat island effect, in this instance, it is reasonable to maximize the utility of spaces in an existing lot by leasing parking to local residents. And finally, reuse of the property to accommodate parking demand created by residents and businesses of the surrounding neighborhood can provide benefits by reducing on-street parking near intersections and crosswalks and on vacant lots, and can provide secured parking for those residents wishing to sign leases, and can be designed to incorporate elements such as landscape screening that improve the aesthetics of the property.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Knight. Mr. Petrina, do you want to proceed?
Yeah, sure. Just a short presentation, and then we're here to answer any questions that the board may have and some of the other residents. So I'm just going to pass out a few exhibits here demonstrating where the property is and what its existing conditions are.
Thanks.
Okay, so generally, we concur with Mr. Knight's report and the conditions that he suggested for this application. So I'll keep the presentation brief tonight in the interest of time, but did want to address, some of the basic elements of this project and what Brenneman Properties seeks to do with it. So the property is located at 1332 North 2nd Street. And also as part of this property sale is a parking lot across the street from it, 122 Calder Street. So there's a larger parking lot that's connected to the building that was used by the funeral home, and then across Calder Street is a smaller lot that was also owned by Bittner Reynolds, the prior owner of the property. And so this entire property is located within the RM district, the city's old uptown historic district, and it's along a prominent stretch of North 2nd Street in the uptown neighborhood. It's surrounded on all four sides by the RM district, and there's a mix of residential and commercial buildings and offices in the area as well. So Brenneman Properties has entered into an agreement of sale, as I just mentioned, to purchase this from Bittner Reynolds LLC, doing business as the Newmeyer Funeral Home. The funeral home in recent years has sort of fallen into a state of non-use, unfortunately, and so that led to the Hetrick Bittner family funeral homes listing this property for sale because it just wasn't being used as much as it once was. So the property currently contains 5 multifamily dwelling units on the top 2 floors, and with the existing funeral home on the first floor, which has been in continuous operation, albeit a declining business since at least the 1950s, but perhaps even longer. So tonight, Brenneman Properties is here to request a special exception to permit an additional 8 multifamily dwelling units on the first floor of the building pursuant to section 7-309.2V of the zoning ordinance. As mentioned, the property has current access to the large lot attached to the building, which is 35 off-street parking spaces. And then there's an additional 11 off-street parking spaces located at 122 Calder Street. So that brings the total parking for this property up to 46 off-street parking spaces. The zoning ordinance for a multifamily dwelling would only require 16 off-street parking spaces. So that leaves Brenneman Properties with an additional 30 off-street parking spaces that it has nothing to do with, with this existing large parking lot that was previously used for a funeral home. So that's what led then to the second request, which is a variance from section 7-305.7 to permit the commercial leasing of 30 off-street parking spaces at the parking lot. And so with that background of the project, I'll go ahead and call my first and only witness tonight, and then we'll walk through some of these exhibits, and then we'll turn it back over for questions. So Mike, if you could please turn to the first exhibit. Is that an aerial image in front of you of the property and its existing conditions as it sits today?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please use this first exhibit to orient the board as to where the property is located within the city?
Yeah, so we have North Second Street here. The property's bordered on the north side by Calder Street, and you can also see 122, the other parcel that's subject to the sale there, and then it's bordered on the south side by Safer.
Okay. We'll move to admit that exhibit as applicant's exhibit A1.
Okay, it'll be admitted.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so Mike, just flip through the next set of pictures here that's in front of you and for the board. Are these next set of photos, do they generally depict, although they were taken from Google in 2022, do they generally depict the existing conditions of the property as they exist today at the parking lot?
Yes, yes. We have you want me to go through each?
We can just flip through them. I just really wanted the board to have them so that they can see what we're looking at.
This looks to me to be the current condition of
Okay.
the building.
So we'll move to admit the existing conditions photos as applicant's exhibit A2. And these are particularly helpful for the board if they might have questions about the parking lot. There are some images in there of the entirety of both lots for this property as well. So we'll just discuss the relief requested by this application. So Mr. White, pursuant to section 7-305.7 of the zoning ordinance, multifamily dwellings are permitted by special exception in the RM zoning district. Are you familiar with those requirements of the zoning ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. Sections 7-309.2V and 7-323.6 of the zoning ordinance, they provide specific and general criteria for the board to consider in permitting multifamily dwellings in the RM district. Are you also familiar with those criteria?
Yes.
Did you review the narrative submitted in support of this application?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And do you adopt the statements made in that narrative as to why your proposed use of the property complies with all of the special exception criteria of sections 7-305.7 and 7-309.2V?
Yes.
Okay. And were you present earlier for Mr. Knight's testimony and the reading of his Bureau zoning report?
Yes.
Okay. To the extent applicable, do you agree with the comments and statements that Mr. Knight made and the Planning Bureau's report as to why your proposed use of the property for 8 additional multifamily dwellings complies with the special exception criteria of the zoning ordinance?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is it true that the proposed use would allow for a total of 13 multifamily dwelling units at the property?
That is correct.
Okay. And so that's the 8 additional that are proposed plus the 5 on the top floor?
Yep.
Okay. And is it also true that under section 7-307.3A of the zoning ordinance, that you would be permitted a density of 14 dwelling units on a lot of this size, which is approximately 20,908 square feet.
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay, so the proposed dwelling density then, just for clarity, is less than what the zoning ordinance would permit?
Yes.
By 1 unit?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, let's discuss a little bit about the floor plan. If you could tell the board, what are the unit mixes of these dwelling units, and what will they look like?
Okay, so the existing 5 units are a mix of 3, 2, and 1-bedroom units, and they are on the second and third floors. The current funeral home space spans the entire above-grade floor plan, or footprint of the building. And we are going to provide on that space or convert to 8 units as was stated. It'll be a mix of 1 and 2-bedroom units. Specifically, it'll be 7 1-bedroom units and 1 2-bedroom unit. We want the units to be affordable, so we're trying to strike a middle ground with our level of finish, so that they can be accessible to the community.
Okay. And by affordable, will you be applying for formal tax credits for this property, or just generally the goal here is to have market rate apartments that are generally accessible and affordable for people in the neighborhood?
Yeah, that's correct. I would say we're not going to be applying for any tax credits, or they won't be designated as affordable, but it would just be in line with the development that we've done so far, in terms of the units that we provide.
Okay. Are you proposing any exterior renovations to the exterior facade of the building?
Not at this time.
Okay. And to the extent that any exterior changes are made, do you agree to obtain HARB approval for those changes?
Yes.
Okay. So next we'll discuss a little bit about the variance request for the commercial leasing of the parking spaces. So the second request for relief was pursuant to 7-305.7 of the zoning ordinance. And as I previously mentioned, it's to permit the commercial use of 30 off-street parking spaces at the property. Mike, could you tell me, is it accurate that you only need 16 off-street parking spaces for this multifamily dwelling building?
That is correct.
Okay. Do these 46 off-street parking spaces at the property, do they pre-exist Brenneman Properties' interest in the property?
Yes.
Okay, so the parking spaces are already paved and have been for several decades?
Yeah, to my knowledge.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, and so if the variance requested for the parking lot is not granted, what will you do with the additional 30 off-street parking spaces?
We do not have an alternative use for the parking spaces. So at this point, we would do nothing other than to attempt to secure the lot. We don't have a proposed alternative use.
Okay. And so is it accurate to say that this large parking lot and additional spaces present an unnecessary hardship to your full use of the property as it sits today?
Yes.
Okay. And so if the requested variance is permitted for the commercial leasing of the parking lot, who do you plan to lease these spots to?
To the neighbors in the community. So anybody that would need access to parking in the community that would benefit from it.
Okay. And do you intend to control and monitor who accesses the parking lot with parking placards and parking permit only signs?
Yeah, I would say in this particular area, we're expert in that the property will be managed by Midtown Property Management, who is responsible for the management of many parking lots in the area, and has systems in place to make sure that it's done safely and correctly.
Okay, and will that also include security cameras in the parking lot that will be monitored by Midtown Property Management?
Yes, that is part of the project.
In your opinion, is this the minimum variance necessary to afford relief to Brenneman Properties to provide a reasonable parking solution and reuse of this property?
Yeah, absolutely. We spent a lot of time thinking about land use and the best use of available land, and this is the only thing that we can think of to do with the available parking space.
Okay, and are you familiar with the non-competing parking area of the city that was defined in the PEDFA Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement? It was dated December 2013. Are you familiar with that area?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and is this parking lot within the city's non-competing parking areas designated by that December 2013 agreement?
No.
Okay. I think you may have answered this earlier, but wanted to cover it again, just in case. Did you review the application and the narrative in support of this variance request?
Yes.
Okay, and to the extent applicable, do you adopt the comments made therein as your own?
Yes.
Okay, so in conclusion, Brenneman Properties has satisfied its burden for a special exception to permit 8 multifamily dwellings at the property, and has established has established its burden for a variance to permit commercial leasing of the 30 extra parking spaces at this lot. And so we would respectfully request that the zoning hearing board approve the relief requested by this application, subject to the conditions in Mr. Knight's bureau report. With that, I'll turn it over to the board for questions, and we're also here, of course, to answer any questions that any of the residents might have, and some of the concerns and how we may be able to alleviate those.
Okay, let's go to the parties. Mr. Fisher, do you have any questions of Mr. White?
Yeah, I have a couple. But first, I just want to see if I understand something correctly. With the variance request, it's to lease the additional parking spaces for commercial use. Those parking spots are currently being leased. So is the current use not in compliance with the zoning requirements?
Can I answer? Yeah, the only leases that we are aware of, just as part of the process of purchasing the property, is the leases for Calder Street. And then the utilization of the current tenants on the main building up top in the 5 units, that they are using the parking. Any existing leases, we would like to renew and continue. So we don't plan to cancel any existing leases. It's actually a benefit, and it's something that we would like to see continue, and they've been disclosed to us, or at least the ones on Calder Street have, so.
So the variance is for the parking lot on Second Street, not the Calder Street parking lot. Is that correct?
It's for the entirety of the property that's being purchased. So the property being purchased is that Second Street lot and the Calder Street lot. But as Mr. White had stated, the underlying leases at Calder Street will remain in place and roll over to the new property owner, which is going to be Brenneman Properties.
So the intent is to honor the existing agreements and maintain, not increase costs for the residents that are using them currently? Is that, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, yeah, that is the intent. And then we're seeking permission to be able to lease the unused spaces beyond the requirement for the addition.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about the proposed site improvements? My understanding from Mr. Knight's testimony is that the only site improvements being proposed right now are the removal of the concrete bollards on Second Street. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, that's what Mr. Knight had asked as part of his statement, and we had agreed in planning commission that we would do that.
Are you familiar with any deteriorating conditions on that Calder Street parking lot by any chance?
Other than what he stated, no, I'm not. But we, as part of our site development in general, we're gonna, want to invest in the lot on Calder and on Second Street and improve it.
There are some concerns with the conditions of the Calder Street lot.
Mhm.
In particular, there appears to be a sinkhole that's forming. There's been some other spots on Calder Street where we've had sinkholes come up. Do do you have any intent to address those conditions?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I would actually would love to, if maybe, they could be identified. We would love to know their location and from a safety standpoint and just from a, operation standpoint of the new 8 units, we'd want the lots to be as safe and frankly, like immaculate as possible. So right now, they seem to be kind of underutilized and not taken care of, and we're hoping to just make the entire site, as attractive as possible.
So I guess if we're trying to make it as attractive as possible, but there's no intent to upgrade any of the barriers or gates or anything like that at this point?
Well, we haven't progressed that far in terms of our development plan. I think that once we do get approval, if we do get approval to lease the additional parking spaces, then there's also a land development application that will deal with more like site plan issues. And then as part of that process, and then even getting into access to the apartments themselves. So if we have the ground floor units, there's going to be access questions and just a lot of different details that go into the way that the site will work. So I'm, expecting that we're gonna have to make significant improvements to the site and the exterior parking and otherwise once we get into the project.
This is changing subjects a little bit. The other concern that we have is, one of the nice things about being on Calder Street is that it's just been a really well-maintained block for the 140 years that the homes have been there. And when we've had issues in the past with keeping the area, neat and clean, it's been with some of the renters that are in the area. Can you talk a little bit about what the proposed options are for refuse collection for the additional 8 units?
I would say as part of it, I know that currently there isn't a management structure in place for the rentals that exist, and I would say as part of our management structure that we would bring in via Midtown Property Management is there's going to be regular environmental checks, and I just know from working at Midtown Property Management and our existing properties that we would plan to be handling any refuse on the street. Plowing and just general site maintenance is like a big part of how we would operate that doesn't currently exist on the site because the rentals are not a priority.
Sure, but I think with what we've seen with Lawton Street in particular, there's been historical issues with refuse collection, with trash not making it into the proper disposal bins, and when we've requested site visit to address these issues, it has been slow at best to have these issues taken care of. So then when we hear that there's an additional 8 units being proposed, when we were already having issues with refuse and there's no additional plans being presented to address that, it's a bit of a concern for us. I know we've had issues more recently with rodents and other pests making their way into our backyards because of this issue. So, I would propose that if you guys would, if you'd like to move forward with that, I would recommend having a dedicated refuse collection agency coming in, maybe putting in a dumpster enclosure with a dumpster on some of those additional lots, so that is centered and that's entirely on your property and under your management, as opposed to relying on having all the trash bins out, which is an eyesore, as well as some concerns with refuse not being disposed of properly historically.
Okay, yeah, I think that I can only speak to just the way that we've operated it in other situations, and that just my experience working with the seller, and it's something that we really care about in terms of the site quality and refuse pickup, and that we're absolutely want to do a better job than maybe prior ownership or management has, and that I'm glad that you were here to express the concerns so that we know it's a particular priority, if and when we are able to convert and have 8 more units there, that we can make it better despite the increase in occupancy.
So, but if I'm understanding you correctly, you are not going to be responsible for the site management itself. You are going to be contracting with Midtown Property to to do the site management? Or is that something that's still staying underneath Brenneman Properties?
It's going to be, so Midtown Property Management manages all of Brenneman Properties holdings. And it's not I hang my license at Midtown Property Management. So it's a very close relationship. We're a very active, I would say maybe we are the most active ownership group that they help. So it's not, I'm local, so it's not a distant, owner that isn't involved and actively engaged with the property. We speak with Midtown Property Management every single day about our properties and, the quality of the exteriors, interiors, leasing. So it's more like it increases our ability to make the site higher quality as opposed to a situation where we only with, obviously without Midtown, it'd be less resources. We'd have less resources to handle that. So they kind of increase our ability to.
So if I have an issue though, am I reaching out to you directly or am I supposed to reach out to Midtown?
I would, you can reach out to, since we're talking right now, I'd say you can reach out to me directly. And then I would likely loop in with Midtown myself to say, hey, here's the feedback that I'm getting. I'd like to work on this together. What's the best way to make sure that this is better than the current situation?
Do you have a card?
Yeah, I would be happy to share. Yeah, I'd be happy to share my contact information. Would gladly address any and all concerns, by neighbors and the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, okay, so, Ms. Dunn, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Many of the neighbors have questioned, are we gonna lose our parking spaces? From what I understand, you said that the neighbors who rent spaces at 122 Calder will remain in that lot?
Yes, yeah, we have no plans at all to cancel existing parking leases and had hoped to renew them to the extent that they're termed out.
Thank you.
It's actually good for us to hear that they're in demand, that they're valued and that neighbors want to continue to use. So.
Does anybody from the board have any questions of this witness?
Good evening. Just had a number of questions. So if we go back through some of the things related to, the details related to parking. So the Calder Street property, right, is 11 spaces currently, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how many spaces are currently at 1332 North 2nd Street?
35.
35. Okay. And I can see this from the agreement of sale, but these are two separate parcels, correct? That are being
Correct.
purchased?
Yep.
Just at one time? Okay. So I guess I kind of have a question or maybe a point of clarification. So the statement about the hardship not being created, right? I guess I'm a little lost in that because if you look at the original property, right, 35 and 122 Calder Street equaling to 46, the problem is being created because we're looking at these two individual parcels together. Because if you take away, right, the 11 spaces, you have 35, then there's a significant less excess that would be had for the total parking. For the parking, sorry, at the current, at 1332 North 2nd Street. So I guess I question, or maybe I need to understand better, how should we view that type of situation if we're talking about two separate parcels that are being looked at together? I don't know who that question goes to.
Are you asking the solicitor, or, we can both provide some
I'd be happy to
insight
speak,
as
just
well.
that's the opportunity presented to us in terms of the sale and the way that it was publicly advertised was for both parcels to be purchased. So I would also say that even separate from 122 Calder Street, that given the size of the 1332 North 2nd lot, we would still have significant additional parking if all residents utilize their parking, which we don't even expect all residents to have vehicles. So if we were completely utilized to the 16 spaces that would be required if we increased to 13 units, then we would still have an additional 15-plus parking spaces. And we typically, in our experience, like, will have inherent vacancy of around 30%. So I expect that, you know, we won't have full utilization of the 16. So I think that even separate from Calder, we'll still have a lot of unused land, unused space.
Okay. Okay. Question, I don't know what, do you have details on what would be your proposed rates for leasing spaces and what the difference may be between that, your proposed rates and the current rates?
The way that I had run it was that had gone more conservative and thought that $50 per month, as I think is currently the case. I'd have to review the existing leases, that's kind of how we had run. What we would do is it would be around that rate.
Okay. I'll probably have a few more questions, but I'll turn it over to Mr. Phipps.
Well, since we're into the parking business here, for those 8 units and for the resident, and for 13 units that are going to be in the building, parking will be included in their lease, or is that going to be a separate charge?
Included right now.
Okay, included right now, good. Trash collection, I think we spoke on it earlier. This property wouldn't be under city trash. It would have to be, because it's a multifamily apartment, they'd have their own trash collection capabilities or contract out to someone?
I believe, I don't have a lot of expertise on what our trash collection is, but I would imagine for something like that, they would have a commercial account that
Commercial
would
account.
maybe that would be handled by the city. It would not be handled by like a third-party trash collector.
Okay. I'll ping pong them back to parking again. I have to keep my notes. The lots themselves, I look at the pictures, and there's, for access control, I think it's gated to a certain point.
Yeah, I could just refer to the current owner's statements that he had done that because he was not able to utilize the parking, that he had, and people were parking there like overnight without permission, and he felt that it was a safety issue, that he had said that he was just putting a chain across just to stop unpermitted parking from occurring when the spaces weren't being used.
So, since this is all part of that, will you have some type of access control?
Yes.
For, either the residents of the apartments or for the slots that you're going to rent out?
Yeah, we would like a system in place with placards, with various forms of access control, security cameras. We'd like the people who are permitted to park there to be identified, and we'd like to put a very cohesive system in place. So the only people that are parking there, as opposed to right now, the only people that are parking there are people who are permitted to park there.
And one last question about the rental for the units. You're going to add 8 units on the first floor. 7 one-bedroom and 1 two-bedroom. Will they be or any of those units be ADA compliant?
Yeah, we plan to develop that bottom floor in compliance with all code regulations, ADA. There's a lot of there could be significant exterior access, and we would want to do that up to code and appropriately.
Okay.
That's something we're investigating with our architect.
Okay. Well, I see one of the requirements from the Planning Bureau was that a land development plan. And it's a work in progress, or you already have it?
So they've already submitted a plan. We're awaiting a little bit of supplemental documentation, but at the moment, they're on the November 8th Planning Commission meeting agenda.
Okay. Thank you. That's all questions I have.
Okay, do you want to go? I just had 1 or 2 questions.
Okay.
You want me to go?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Mr. White, right now, Brenneman Properties does not currently own the properties in question, is that correct?
No, we are under contract without contingency to close at the end of November.
Well, your agreement of sale, I think it has a 75-day due diligence period, right? So,
That, I guess to be specific, that we fully intend to close and do the project, and it is not contingent upon the receipt of, we've already had our inspection, and we've gone through that process, and we're fully comfortable, with the project, and we're already actively working with our architect and planning to complete the project.
okay. Okay, and Mr. Petrina, the variance that you're requesting is a use variance, would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hobbs, did you have any questions?
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, so for your tenants, you said parking would be included. Is there a maximum allowance, I guess, that they would have for parking spaces?
It's not something that I had thought of yet. I think it would be on a case-by-case, basis. I think, it would be based on unit size and family size, but I think we'd probably just conform to the zoning code and the requirements to make parking available.
Thank you. You mentioned with the units that you are trying to make them affordable, not necessarily like the designation of affordable, but market rate, but still affordable. What does that look like?
In general, we aim to provide new, updated, brand-new units, but that we strike financially for, something I think about is with an eye for the HUD designations in terms of what is affordable based on family size and AMI, and all of our rental rates that we're putting in our pro forma right now are very closely hewed to what is designated by HUD as affordable, though we're not going to seek any kind of designation or benefit for it. And that's just been our thesis in terms of how we've developed. We've primarily developed affordable and accessible, the market rate units. We do not have top of the market units across the board.
Okay, alrighty, thank you. And then I guess Mr. Knight, you would be the best person for this question. I was thinking earlier about how to pose the question, but so when we're looking at applications in this case where there's two separate things, right, a variance and a special exception, those are, even though this is part of one application, aren't those are two separate issues, correct?
Correct. I mean, you could theoretically grant one and not grant the other. I don't think them being combined in application requires them to be ruled on together, essentially,
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just in my mind trying to wrap around somewhat of what I asked before about the hardship, because I guess what I sense, especially with the current setup of the building, is that some of the special exception use could potentially be causing, I guess, the hardship that's being notated for the variance, right? If you're changing the use of the building, that's what brings up the point of the variance itself, as opposed to its current use and setup. So I think I'm just trying to make sure that I'm viewing that properly and understanding all the parameters attached to the whole scenario, even though the variance and the special exception are two separate issues in a sense.
If I could say something, that's a really good point. And it's something that we've thought a lot about. And I think that what I would just say is that the current owner is ceasing business at that location because the current use is, in his eyes, compared to other options for his business, is no longer feasible. I would say that we, via our relationship with Midtown Property Management, we have pretty significant, feel for continuation of a commercial option, just in terms of having a feeling for, who's looking for space and how it could be utilized. And we did look deeply into that, and we were not satisfied with our investigation of like a continuation of a commercial use that would be viable. And so, we're changing because we think that that's what the community needs, the most. We think that the community needs housing, and that we think that in general, what is very valuable to residents is an opportunity for secure parking, especially for buildings and residents that, in their building, they don't have access to, secure parking, and they have to park on the street, sometimes, far away from their house. So we definitely had asked the, very same question, like, hey, can we continue? It would be easiest, right, to just, it's a fairly in good shape commercial building. Could we continue some kind of a commercial use that would be in concert with and we were just not able to be satisfied with the demand, and thought we'd be, left with a vacant space.
Okay. Well, I'll just ask this then as a follow-up. What does that analysis look like, right? To say that, you looked at options, you didn't find anything, I guess, that was viable or that was appetizing to your operations, right? But what does that analysis look like, and what are determining factors that you can share with us to shed some light on that?
I have just to get a better idea to your point, I have a public listing for rent on the broadest circulation commercial leasing site, Crexie, the one that's used the most right now. I've had zero response to it. It's been publicly listed for a couple months just to get an idea if that would even be possible, and I've been shocked and have had absolutely zero. I think that the current use is a little stigmatizing too. That it's like, and I think so that would be one way, is that there was a public attempt that came up, woefully short, and then also just within our network, when I say we, as in concert with Midtown Property Management, we do a lot of commercial leasing too. Reached out to agents that do commercial leasing. We reached out to our entire network in terms of, we have a pretty big network of people that we can talk to about, interest, and we got absolutely zero interest. And then another part of it too is that just that given the pricing of the building, that we were not able to get, any interest that would approach what would be required for us to justify the purchase and a continuation of that use, especially because it is a clean building on the interior, but it's not a very super modern updated building. That's the toughest, is not modern commercial spaces, especially in the city right now, is particularly challenging.
Okay, and what does that, when you're in that period of time, what is the timeline for that evaluation? And I ask this because this, the previous application related to this property was just heard here at the zoning hearing board on July 21st of this year.
Yeah, we were, at first we were in conversation around that time. I think the building had been listed publicly for up to a year at that time, so it's something that we were aware of and had been thinking about, long prior, even before getting under contract. As part of the due diligence, you're gonna look into, what the possibilities are if you do find yourself under contract, so that you're ready to perform on that contract. And so yeah, at that time, it was something that we were considering. As soon as I was able to publicly investigate that as somebody that had equitable title to the property or was under contract, we did, like I just described, make that effort. And yeah, we just were left unsatisfied that we could not continue a similar type use, whether it be office, retail, as Jeff mentioned.
Okay, I appreciate that response. And I just want to make a point of the reason why I'm drilling on this point, and I only bring this up because you mentioned it, is even when the application related to 1332 North 2nd Street came up before about the use of the property in its current form, the applicant didn't really specify that there were issues with the business. It was just more so, it appeared as if there just wasn't interest in or continuing to operate that business there. It didn't seem like there was an actual detailed or documented, issues with utilizing the property in that current use. So that's why I'm just making sure I get some clarity about that point.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's definitely a big part of what, like I said, what we considered, and I feel very confident in this like level of investigation that we were able to put forth to figure out whether or not that is, that's possible. So thank you for your question.
All right. Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay. We'll get to you in a second, all right? Do you have follow-up questions, or I think you're finished, right? Did you rest, Mr. Petrina?
Yeah, that's all we had, so we're just here for questions at this point.
Okay. And then, would you like to present anything, or do you have follow-up questions from the questions that we had, or?
You have some follow-up questions. I'm not prepared to present anything or spin anything.
Okay. Are you going to make like a closing statement of some sort?
I would like to further respond if I could, to just as a, if I could, just as a statement that just like separate from the proceedings, just as somebody invested in the community, that like I appreciate you coming out. I care about, this is a little bit of an odd format, but like I care about your concerns, and just on a person like level, I absolutely want you to be able to be in touch with me, to show me, you know, the concerns specifically, and so that we can discuss them on site. So like it's just from, you know, one person interested in the city to another, like it matters to me, and I definitely want to work on it with you.
Okay.
I appreciate that, and I don't think that there's any, you know, I don't think there's any inherent, we're not opposed to having additional housing on the block. I mean, I think that there are some concerns that affect the residents, and that's why we wanted to talk about it. So I appreciate you making that comment and you know, make yourself available for any issues that come up. I guess one of the other, if I remember correctly, you had made a comment that you weren't intending to do any exterior alterations to the facade of the building. Is that correct?
I think that it's, that we are going to likely to comply with ordinance and code and law that may come up, and that we're going to, you know, if we, from a safety standpoint, or from a legal standpoint, what we need to do based on our layout or what is, you know, required, we will do. But it's still ongoing.
So is it fair to say that it's not that you're saying you're not going to do exterior updates, but that is, you're not at a position to speak on that at this point?
In specifics, yeah, we don't have plans right now, but that it's something that, you know, given what is appropriate from like a safety standpoint or is required, that we definitely will do. And then, of course, we want the building to be more attractive in general, and within what is required, you know, in terms of permissions to update the exterior, if so, you know, we would.
Is there, back to one other parking question, has there been any thought of having any guest parking available for the residents?
Yeah, as I think just the way that I understand that is just the way that the code works is that there's additional spots that are required per certain number of units. So we just want to follow that in terms of that when you, I think every 5, you have to have an additional. I think the idea is for guests. So yes.
So is that part of the 16, or is that in addition to the 16?
That's part of the 16.
Yeah, that's correct. The off-street parking requirements for multifamily dwellings are 1 space per unit, and then 1 space for every 5 units for guest parking.
And then I would say separately that my expectation is that we're going to have vacancy. So I think that even if we did get permission, that we will inherently have excess parking that could be utilized with permission, you know, by guests. I don't think there's going to be a situation where there is like overflow, if that is a particular concern.
No, I think that based off of my experience, the likelihood that not everybody in there has at least 1 car, I would be surprised if that was the case. I think everybody generally that lives in that area has a vehicle to get to the grocery store, get to work for something. So I wouldn't even be surprised if some of those residents had 2 cars. And that's going to cause an overflow onto the streets where the rest of us park. Because there was a cost associated with an additional rental spot, I think, you know, you're gonna see more people that are gonna spill out onto the street, which is gonna have an effect on the residents that are in.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that we would control for that by that as part of our leasing process, that we are going to ask the residents how many, vehicles they have, and that if we are seeing that we're having, vehicles, beyond family size, or we're having large family sizes where everybody has a vehicle, and that it's going to exceed what we have available, then we're gonna, of course, have, full, insurance, license plate information, and we're only going to, if we get permission, we're only going to give a placard or a identification sticker to permitted vehicles. So in terms of what we could control, that we would not allow vehicles that do not have their sticker or whatever system we put in place to utilize the law.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but the residents are still gonna be eligible for permit parking, which is on the street, sorry.
Yeah, I think that, in my experience, I'm hoping that we're gonna have, a lot of residents who are walking. I mean, it is a walkable, area in terms of access to Broad Street Market and retail and, employment. So I'm hopeful that we do not have a problem with too many vehicles.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Okay. Ms. Dunn, do you have any questions? Okay. Is that it for your, because we're going to wrap this up and the board's going to make a decision. Do you have anything else you want to add? Okay. Ms. Dunn, good? Okay. You're done? You rested? You good?
That was all I had. I
Okay.
guess I'll add one more statement, that the special exception requirements and criteria that were submitted as part of the application, as highlighted in Mr. Knight's report, for the multifamily units, we did satisfy those criteria. And it is our position as well that we met the requirements for a use variance to allow for this commercial parking lot. Mr. Hobbs had some questions about the hardship that was created, the agreement of sale that we're gonna inherit on these lots are 2 parking lots in the city, which is a rarity in the city of Harrisburg, that we usually have the opposite problem where we don't have enough parking. We're inheriting a lot here that is a large pre-existing and paved parking lot, inclusive of 122 Calder Street, that essentially there's no reuse for. It's already paved, it's already a pre-existing condition, and so that's the hardship and the calculus that Brenneman Properties went through in determining how can we make a reasonable reuse of the entirety of the property that not only will support the residents of the multifamily dwelling, but also of the neighborhood writ large. And as Mr. White just testified, there will be significant conversation then as tenants begin to lease their multifamily dwellings from Brenneman Properties. The conversations then would be into how many parking placards are necessary for this particular tenant, and calculating the number of spots that are available, of which there are 46 spots. So it's a large lot that was intended for use as a big funeral home. There's going to be excess parking spaces, I guess, is what Brenneman Properties is trying to get at. But it's a unique situation where you have more parking than what is necessary, and so that is the hardship and how we accounted for that in the zoning narrative. So
Okay.
with that, we have no further
Okay.
comments.
You want to take a 5-minute recess if you have any legal questions? Okay. We're going to take a recess, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, we're going to go back on the record. Would any of the board members like to make a motion in this matter?
Yes. I make a motion to grant applicants special exception request to expand the existing non-conforming multifamily dwelling to add 8 new units to the existing 5 units with conditions set forth in the Planning Commission resolution, and to deny applicants' variance request to permit commercial leasing of parking spaces with regard to the lots located at 1332 through 1336 North Second Street and 122 Calder Street.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion among the board members? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. You'll get a written decision within 45 days of today's hearing.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, next hearing is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm going too fast. You're good? Okay. Next application is application 2617. It's a request for a special exception for the property located at 1100 North 17th Street, which is zoned residential medium density, filed by Mohan Hadeen Incorporated to establish a place of worship for the property in question. And I know I probably didn't pronounce that correctly, did I? Okay. Again, we have our zoning administrator, Jeffrey Knight, and but before we have you give a summary, I'm just going to read the exhibits into the record. I have board exhibit number 1 is the proof of publication. The time and place and particular nature of this matter was published in the Patriot News on October 5th and October 12th, 2025. B2 is a letter dated October 16, 2025 from the planning director, Mr. Knight, to the applicant, notifying the applicant of the time and place of the hearing. Board exhibit number 3 is the hearing notice posted upon the property in question, which occurred on September 25th, 2025. Board exhibit number 4 is a notification letters to required neighbors and certificate of mailing. Board exhibit number 5 is the application packet with the attached narrative photos of the interior and exterior of the property and a petition in support. Board exhibit number 6 is the agreement of sale establishing applicant standing. Board exhibit number 7 is the deed and mortgage to the property, identifying the seller as a current owner of the property. Board exhibit number 8 is the Planning Bureau case report. Board exhibit number 9 is the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. And we received a letter of opposition today. We marked as exhibit C1 from Angelo and Chantel Mohammed. So there are the exhibits at this point. And sir, could you introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Abdul Jalil Larry,
Okay.
and I'm the director of Mohideen.
Okay. Could you spell your last name for the record?
Larry.
Okay. And Mr. Mary?
Larry. L.
Larry. Okay. Got it. We're going to have to swear you in for the record. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board is the truth and nothing but the truth? Okay. And is there anybody here in opposition to this application?
I'm Angelo Muhammad.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to say I'm in opposition, I have some questions.
Okay.
Statement is doing this
Would you, do you live close to this project? Okay. Again, as I indicated before, would you like to participate as a party, or would you just like to make a statement at the end? What do you mean by party? Party is you could cross-examine the witness when they testify, and you could present your own evidence, as opposed to just making a statement at the end for or against. Well, you just want to ask some questions? Okay, all right, I get it. Mr. Knight, do you want to give us a summary?
Sure. So the applicant for case number 2617 is proposing to establish a place of worship use of the subject property, which requires zoning hearing board approval of a special exception for the proposed use per section 7-305.7 of the zoning code. So the subject property previously in the past operated as a child care center use up to, I almost want to say 2018 maybe. And then in the intervening years, it had experienced vacancy, certainly, during COVID, obviously. And then I believe the applicant purchased this at one point, or the property owner purchased it at one point. And I believe there was a proposal in 2022 to establish a convenience store on site here, which was, I believe, denied by the zoning hearing board. And since then, there has not been another use proposed for the property. So the current place of worship use, either by its own nature or as the conversion of one non-conforming use of child care center to another place of worship, would require a special exception in either case. With the subject property at 1100 North 17th Street, there are two other properties located just to the west, across from the subject property on Schott Street. One is 1616 Hurst Street, and that's the property parking lot directly to the west. It has a small garage on it. And then just to the north of that, at 1625 Cumberland Street, is another property, half of which is an enclosed, undeveloped parcel that I think had a playground of some sort one time. And then the other half is parking spaces directly adjacent to Schott Street. In total, the two accessory parking lots have 20 spaces on them. The applicant had lined additional spaces, but they create non-conforming aspects with regard to the access to the spaces that we're on. So in our review, and you'll see that, we recommend either removing those spaces or redesigning the parking lot and providing a site plan to show how the new spaces will be laid out. With the 20 parking spaces, the applicants would be able to have up to 80 individuals on site per the off-street parking requirements, which require one parking space per 4 seats for a place of worship use. In their application, the applicants indicated that they would generally have, I believe, up to 50 people on a weekly basis for weekly services, and potentially 75 for special events. So in either event, using people in attendance as a proxy for seats, in either event, they would have the required off-street parking associated with this use. So they would not require a special exception for relief from the off-street parking requirements. So in effect, the request is just the special exception for the proposed place of worship use. With that being said, the Planning Commission recommends that the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicant must submit a detailed site plan developed by a professional for the accessory parking lot at 1616 Hurst Street, showing the installation of required landscaping along the western frontage, which had been removed previously, and which would create a non-conforming aspect of that lot, and new landscaping along the southern frontage, and parking spaces configured in conformance with the applicable regulations in section 7-327.8 of the zoning code. And as noted, where the applicant to remove the 5 spaces that they recently lined, the existing condition of that site would just be a non-conforming aspect of the property. And the number of parking spaces that would be there between that lot and 1625 would still accommodate the proposed use. And then the second condition is that new wall signage proposed by the applicant will be limited to 4 square feet and must otherwise be in conformance with the applicable zoning regulations, or a separate zoning relief application will need to be approved by the zoning hearing board. In their application, they noted their proposed signage would be 6 square feet, so that's what that condition refers to. The Planning Commission recommends the zoning hearing board approve the request for the following reasons. The property has experienced an extended period of vacancy, 7 years, and previously accommodated a different non-conforming use on site, a childcare center. As such, there is support for the allowance of a non-conforming use that the building can be actively occupied. The project use is a fairly low-intensity use, which should be compatible with the surrounding residential neighborhood and should not create adverse impacts for residents. And finally, the applicant is committed to building and site improvements that will improve the aesthetics of the properties, ensure the compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood, and increase their conformance with the zoning code.
Mr. Knight, how does 1625 Cumberland Street fit in? You'd mentioned that was another.
Yeah, that was something the applicants referenced in their application. I believe it's under the same ownership as the other 2 properties, and I think it has 10 head-in parking spaces off of Shott Street.
Okay, I noticed that it wasn't part of the conditions. Oh, it's not?
But that wasn't part of the agreement of sale, though, was it? The applicant?
I don't
Those
usually
lots, I
dig
didn't
into
see
the
it in there.
agreement of sale
I didn't see
language.
the agreement of
Okay.
sale,
Okay,
those lots, and that's what.
okay. Mr. Lowry, do you want to state your case now? Do you want to tell us what you wanted?
Basically, we, trying to purchase this property in order for us to use as a house of worship. And so we discussed the matter with the owner because he failed to obtain the building for his own when he tried to establish a grocery store and whatnot. So he approached us and said, okay, I have a property if you want to buy it, since you guys looking for a location. We said, good, we're going to buy it with the condition that if the zoning board approve the property, if they approve, yes, we'll pay you, and we enter into whatever agreement we're going to have. So that's the plan, because we having like a weekend school for children, Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday, Sunday between the hour of 9 to 2. So that's the main activities other than the Friday congregation. And other than the students or the kids who come for the weekend classes, it's only about 8 staffs that helping the students. And that's it. So it's not gonna take any, extra parking space or whatnot in order to gather a whole lot of people other than the Fridays. So we see this to be an opportunity for us to be able to, accommodate our community. For now, we're using 1719 Walnut Street, which we think that because we don't have space for the kids to have a playground and the like of that, we see this to be a very good access for us. Yeah.
Okay, so the weekend school would be both Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 2?
9 to 2.
Okay, and the Friday congregation, about what times?
Our Friday congregation normally start at 12:50.
Okay,
And we finish by 1:30.
so it's
Yeah, it's within like a 2 hours,
like during the day on
Yeah.
Friday?
because people will come in early. Some people come in early before the sermon start. Some
Mhm.
people come during the sermon.
And
But the
and-
prayer itself is around 1:30.
Got it. And then what will the facility be used for, the house of worship, on other times?
As Muslims, we have, obligation to establish congregation 5 times a day. This is not a bigger congregation. This is like 10 to 15 people, during each congregation. So, like you have a morning, prayers, you have a noon prayers, you have an afternoon prayers, then you have an evening prayers and night prayers. So as time goes on, the time varies.
Okay,
It's based on how the movement of the sun is. It's not based on specific hours that you can, establish the prayers.
right. Okay, so it'll be used basically mostly all day for worship.
Basically, normally, as soon as the prayers is over, everybody's gone. You don't see people hanging around or anything like that because we have a lot of people during the daytime. People working, so they don't even stay. More than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how many staff did you say there would be?
Yeah, for the kids, it's 8 staffs.
Okay. And otherwise, how many staff would you have?
No, that's the normal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the maximum that we have.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to?
Regarding to, I think, I'm not sure if you pass by and see we coded the lines to remove.
Okay, so the lines
Yeah,
were removed?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we coded we coded it with a black, coating and removed those areas. So when it comes to the landscape, we're trying to reach out to different landscapers, but they giving us run around, but one of them said he's gonna come on Thursday to come and check and see how, what we need to be done on the line.
Okay.
Mr. Muhammad, do you have questions?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
First, may I state for the record that I've attended
The congregation.
I've attended the prayer service with the imam here, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. What they did in the facility that they're in right now is absolutely beautiful, and what it did for the community was amazing. So with that said, my concern was, and he touched the points, and you already touched the points, so the parcels in the back, the fenced-in area in the back, that go along with the purchase. I want to make sure that he's purchasing the property. I don't want the previous person to, my concern, I mentioned this to him, my concern was that the previous person will allow someone to, I don't know how to word this, but sort of like, allow him to get the application changed, and then he take possession of the property again and put his convenience store in. If that's not gonna happen, you have no opposition from me. I like what he's doing with the community, I like what he's doing with the children.
Well, what the application is for a house of worship, which is via special exception. That would be different from a convenience store. So, and I think we had said that a convenience store was previously denied for this lot. If anybody would have this property after this applicant and want to have a convenience store, they'd have to come in here for another
And I did
zoning
I
relief.
did express that to him. I said that, it doesn't work like that. That you just, buy a property and transfer it for someone to use it for different purposes. It doesn't
Right.
work like that. You have to come back to the board.
Every use is unique,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay.
But just to state for the record, my mistrust wasn't of you. Honestly, brother, it wasn't of you. It was the previous person who was disingenuous when he presented the ideas to us. Now speaking, I've spoken to you on several occasions, so I just wanted to come here to state for the record, what my ideas were, what my concerns were. The moment you say children, you're pulling my heartstrings. The moment you say education to children, look, I'm donating, So, with that being said, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, thanks for your participation. Does the board have any questions of the applicant?
I might have got a little thrown off too. So will you mention, so the parking spaces that you mentioned, I think are about 20, right? That's just with the main building, not the other lots that you pointed out, like
So there are like 10 spaces at the lot at 1616 Hurst Street and 10 at 1625 Cumberland Street. And I had Ms. Cameron check the Dauphin County property tax records, and they're all under the same ownership. So regarding the sale agreement or the lease agreement, I don't know what all the specifics are and what was included, but it's the same owner, so it's not like the applicant will have to go to different owners, one who may be less willing to sell it. I think the applicant or the property owner and the applicant are, I think joined on what they're looking to do with these properties, and so it shouldn't be an issue of securing the parking. But there is sufficient parking aside from those 5 spaces that the applicant just noted to provide the required parking for the proposed use on those 2 lots.
Okay, but at the subject property, there's only 5.
The subject property has none itself. It's largely the building and like a lawn in front of it, but those other 2 spaces directly across Shott Street, again, owned by the same owner of the subject parcel, has the parking.
Basically, it's a combo.
Yeah.
1100, 1616, 1623, and 1625. Yeah. All of them is one deed. All in one deed. It's not something that was separated.
Okay.
But the agreement of sale that you have, you're purchasing just 1100 North 17th.
That's correct, but with the parking also included. He didn't, he gave us, the daycare was using the 1616 Hurst Street as a parking space, including the other parking areas, including the fence where there's a playground before. So, 1717 is the building. The rest of it is nothing. It's like an empty vacant.
But if they're part of one parcel, when they all addresses be listed, then in the agreement of sale, if it's for that particular parcel?
Well, I mean, the deed shows them as separate lots. So if you have a deed with separate lots, you could deed out just one of them. If you have 6 of them there, you don't have to, as long as they're separate lots. So it looks like, but the purchase is only the 1100 North 17th Street. But I think on the other hand, I mean, it seems to be like the planning commission has a condition that, Hurst Street, looks like Hurst Street's going to be used for parking. I guess if Hurst Street is not used for parking, then they can't do what they want to do. Is that what you're?
Yeah, I believe that the planning commission made their determination based on the expectation that the parking on the other 2 lots, 1616 Hurst Street and 1625, were a part of this use.
So, Mr. Knight, for the condition number 1, it speaks of 1616 Hurst Street.
Correct.
Should that also include 1625 Cumberland Street?
Well, so the reason only 1616 Hurst Street was included was because the applicants had lined those 5 additional spaces, and that created basically precluded access to the spaces behind it.
Okay.
And so the condition was put in to say, if you want to add more spaces, you're going to have to give us a site plan. You can remove those spaces you added, and whatever configuration of that lot results from that would be considered the non-conforming aspect of the previous uses. So we were just looking for the site plan if they did want to add spaces, but that is not required.
Mm-hmm.
apologize. I guess my time will be finished. I'm gonna put mine so it's a con.
Pardon?
You ready? Okay, so, thank you for your comments and concise, what was presented and help clarify some things, but are you the owner of all of that parcel, 100%?
Yeah, I'm the owner. We're the owner, I'm not gonna say I'm, because it's an organization.
Or you're trying, or is
We're
it?
trying to acquire,
Okay.
yes.
Then my question would be is why is not that out of that partial, all the lots included in the deed and specified as a right along?
Because we wasn't anticipating that we have to add those other parcels in the application, because we thought the 1,100 is, covered the rest of the area. That's why.
But you're requesting parking, or there's a request to satisfy the parking requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Those lots are being included, so it needs to be specified.
Yeah, I wasn't, aware that we need to specify that, because the 1,100, when we do our, investigation of the county, we see that the price is parcel. The price of the entire properties are parcel. It's not like a separated based on the address. So because of that, we thought that this is how it should be, so we left it as such.
But you can own the parcel, but the lots can be deeded out to somebody.
Yeah.
That's
So-
the concern we're having.
Yeah, they want to make sure that you will have access to all of those parking
No,
spaces
yes,
for
we
all
are.
of that.
Yes.
But like the only way they can be assured of that is if you own that parcel or you have a lease with the person that does own the parcel.
And all the lots that are contained within it.
Yes,
Okay.
if you go right now, you see that we put a line all across the parking lot on Cumberland and Shoot, because if we don't have the right of it, we're not gonna put no lines over there.
Yeah, but they need to see some sort of document that says that, is the only thing. So like either Mr. Amani, who owns the lots, will have to sell those to you, or you will have to get a lease from him for the parking on those lots. So he can either sell you those properties or you sign a lease.
And if those lots are included into the parcel, then it should be, that verbiage should be there.
Yeah.
In specificity, it needs to be specifically stated, and that way, the assumptions that you've made are backed up legally.
Okay.
I apologize.
Do you, what the concern is if the owner of that, say, Her Street says, I'm not gonna let you use it anymore for some reason, then you don't have the parking, so it's, you wanna have an agreement or by deed. And we could, Mr. Knight, if Mr. Lowry is okay with it, we could continue this till next month and see if you could get, either an agreement or, you could get the Her Street property to be a part of your agreement of sale.
Okay.
Is that, yeah,
Her and Cumberland.
Yes.
yeah.
Both of them, because you need the 10 and the 10 spaces from both. So you would need something to indicate you have either a lease or you are going to own those,
Okay.
both of those properties.
Okay.
Okay.
So are you okay if we continue it till next month to see if you have time
No
to do that?
problem, even though I wish that we finish everything today.
I know.
You know,
It's for your
Right.
safety though, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, I guarantee you that, there's no issue on that parking space.
Okay.
And I can follow up and explain what documentation you'll need to bring to the next
Okay,
meeting.
no problem.
Okay. So is there a motion to continue this matter to the regularly scheduled November zoning hearing board meeting?
I make a motion to 26, 17 to the November. So,
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Is all those in favor signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Okay. Great. We'll see you next month then. Hopefully you'll have everything together. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Say it again. My first name is Abdul, space Jaleel. Jaleel. You're welcome. Thank you.
That's my next one.
why the question, because this was denied, by somebody.
Wait, what's that?
This property was denied once before in front of us for another reason. And there's some concerns about if he doesn't get what he wants, this guy could back, he could back into that. Do you agree?
I mean, he can't back into it. He'd have to go through the process, yeah. What's,
He still has to back in front of us.
yeah, absolutely. And I've been fairly clear with them that like the convenience store is not gonna get approved.
No.
We're just going to take a 5-minute bathroom break and we'll be right back. Everyone ready? Okay. So next is application number 2618. This is a variance and special exception application for 1605 to 1613 Market Street. It's zoned residential medium density. This application was filed by Chris Franklin with Handles Helping Hand Foundation to request relief from regulations regarding lot width and relief from off-street parking requirements. I'm going to mark exhibits that we have so far. Exhibit B1 is a proof of publication. The time and place and particular nature of this matter was published in the Patriot News on October 5th and October 12th, 2025. Board Exhibit number 2 is a letter dated October 16, 2025 from the Planning Director to the applicant, notifying the applicant of the time and place of the hearing. Board Exhibit number 3 is a notice of posting of the property in question, which occurred on September 25th, 2025. Board Exhibit number 4 are the notification letters to the required neighbors and certificate of mailing. Board Exhibit number 5 is the application packet with letter intent to rent parking spaces, photos of the property, and subdivision and land development plan for the property. Board Exhibit number 6 is the Harrisburg Redevelopment Authority resolution establishing applicants standing to pursue relief. Board Exhibit number 7 is the Planning Bureau case report. Board Exhibit number 8 is the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. And could we have who's for the applicant?
Yes, my name's Sean O'Toole. I'm an attorney here in Harrisburg. I represent the applicant.
Okay.
With
And
me is,
Zane Geis, project manager with Integrated Consulting, the civil engineer for the applicant.
Mr. Geis, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this board is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Knight, do you want to give a summary of this application?
Sure. So the zoning relief requests for case number 2618 are a variance and special exception, one of each. The special exception is related to the relief from the off-street parking requirements for the proposed 4-unit development because the units are intended to be designated affordable through the city's affordable housing program. They're only required to provide half of a parking space per unit, so they'd be required to have 2 units. As the applicants noted, they do have a draft parking lease and intent to lease spaces at a accessory parking lot owned by a church a block to the west. And then the variance application is associated with the required lot width of properties in the residential medium density zoning district per section 7-307.3 of the zoning code, which requires them to have a minimum lot width of 20 feet. The proposed lots that will be established by the consolidation of the 5 existing lots and the re-subdivision of the property will be 2 21-foot lots on the end units and a 16-foot lot or 2 16-foot lots in the center units. So only 2 of the 4 lots to be created will require the variance relief. The board members may recall this project from a few months ago when a different iteration was proposed, which was a 9-unit affordable housing project, a multifamily dwelling. Many of the same zoning relief aspects were inherent in that, or considerations, I should say, were inherent in that. But the applicants have decided to revise their proposal, and the current proposal is just for 4 single-family row homes, attached single-family row homes on the 4 lots to be created. Overall, the property has been a long vacant lot with the remnants of a community garden, which doesn't appear to really have had much attention in the past few years. And the applicant is proposing to develop structures that reflect the architecture and streetscape of the surrounding blocks. They'll have covered front porches as well as second floor oriel windows, which is similar to what you see in the blocks to the east and west of the subject property. The variance is justified due to the fact that the existing 5 lots are non-conforming with respect to the lot width. So the proposal to consolidate and re-subdivide the lots will actually bring the site more into conformance with the zoning regulations. It only involves 2 of the 4 lots to be established, and the final reason is because the applicants could reduce the intensity of the zoning relief for the 2 interior lots by reducing the outer lots from 21 feet to 20 feet, but that would remove some of the area for landscaping that's required for projects of this nature, and potentially result in those buildings encroaching into the setbacks on those sides. So the proposal for the relief from 2 of the 4 lot widths is justified by there being additional zoning relief that would be required if the applicants were trying to meet the lot width across all 4. With respect, then the zoning, the Planning Commission has recommended the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicants will receive approval of the lot consolidation, subdivision, and land development plans submitted concurrently with the zoning relief application, and any departmental recommendations and/or conditions of approval applied to that review. The applicant should consider fencing in all or portions of the rear yards, or consider installing fences and gates along the sides of the end units to give residents more privacy and security. The Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. The applicant has demonstrated that they have met the burden for granting both zoning relief requests. They have provided a lease for 5 spaces at a nearby surface parking lot if necessary, and the requested variance is a minor deviation that obviates more intensive zoning relief regarding setback encroachment and landscape screening, while providing secondary egress from the rear yards in the event of any emergency. The siting, massing, and design of the proposed row homes will reflect the character of the surrounding community, the surrounding neighborhood, providing compatible infill development along a primary corridor through the Allison Hill neighborhood. Specifically, the Plan Bureau notes the inclusion of front porches and second-floor oriel windows matches many of the other row homes on the block and is a significant improvement over other designs featuring flat facades. The project will improve currently vacant and overgrown lots with affordable units that are a pressing need in the city generally and the neighborhood specifically. And finally, the project advances the purpose of the RM zoning district provided in Chapter 7-305.4C of the code, as it provides a development at medium densities that will not adversely impact the stability of the area, and advances Chapter 7-301.27 of the zoning code by protecting the residential neighborhood and providing diverse housing opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Mr. O'Toole, do you want to proceed?
Yes, as Jeffrey indicated, the applicant is the Handles Helping Hand Foundation. It's a nonprofit founded by Chris Franklin, who now coaches the Harlem Globetrotters. He would be here tonight except for the fact he's trotting the Globe. They're in their tour right now. The properties at issue are 5 parcels on Market Street, 1605, 1607, 09, 11, and 13 Market Street. And as Jeffrey indicated, we were here before. We got the approval then for a 3-story, 9-unit apartment building. But since then, due to cost considerations, we've rescaled. And we're before you now with 4 townhomes. The intention is to sell those to first-time qualifying homeowners. The purpose of Mr. Franklin's foundation is to encourage home ownership. So with that, I'd like to call I got just a little bit of testimony here. I'd like to call my first witness, Mr. Geist. Mr. Geist, could you please state your name and your relationship to the project?
Yep. Zane Geist with Integrated Consulting, project manager, the civil engineering consultant for the applicant.
And as Mr. Knight alluded to, we have a special exception and a variance at issue tonight. The special exception pertains to the off-street parking. Between the zoning ordinance and the city's affordable housing program, what is the parking requirement for this project?
2 spaces, for half space for each unit.
Okay, and as designed right now, there are no There's no parking?
There is no off-street parking accounted for within the project site area here.
Can you explain the reason for that?
Well, at this point, there are no accessible points in which it makes sense to be able to provide on-street parking without putting a curb cut, sacrificing, the units proposed here. There is no rear access other than a 4-foot wide pedestrian alley between the rear property here. And so there really is not a viable path in which the on-street or off-street parking could be provided to serve the proposed development.
If there were access, you said it involved a curb cut?
Correct.
So what would the net result of that be?
Driveway that would come into the property and likely interfere with the proposed layout as it currently sits, that would be out of character with the surrounding neighborhood.
Would it be removing a parking space or two on Market Street for the curb cut?
Correct, yes, you would be sacrificing on-street parking as well to provide that.
So it'll probably be a net zero almost, correct? If you could remove 2 spaces?
Right, it would likely not result in much benefit at all to the development.
And Mr. Knight alluded to an agreement that the project has with the church on Market Street.
Correct.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of that agreement?
That agreement is to provide off-street parking through an agreement with the church to support this proposed development, assuming that it does receive all necessary approvals, to provide an excess now of the spaces required to alleviate any concerns regarding off-street parking.
All right. The variance has to do with the width of the building, is that correct?
Width of the lots,
Of the lots? And what is the requirement from the zoning ordinance?
20 feet minimum lot width for this zoning district.
How many of these units need a reduction from that?
The 2 interior units, lots 2 and 3, each townhome is proposed as 16 feet. The outer lots comply with the zoning ordinance, providing 21 feet. The interior lots be 16 feet as they are attached dwellings, therefore necessitating the variance request for the proposed development.
In order to get all 4 of them 20 feet, you'd probably have to go abut the properties on the.
Correct. We'd be seeking additional relief in order to get to achieve that. With currently the side yard setbacks are provided for in the dimensions required.
And this at one time was 5 separate homes. Is that right?
Correct. There is, in its current state, there's five parcels on this project site.
Okay. So this is an improvement over the previous. This one's in more conformance with the zoning
Correct.
ordinance.
This proposal would bring this project site in parcels into further conformance with the zoning code.
And Mr. Knight's case report is on record. You reviewed that?
Yes.
Do you agree with it?
Yes.
As for the conditions set forth in that, as well as the resolution passed by the planning commission, are you in agreement with those?
Yes.
I have no further question for the witness.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
So these would be townhouses, you're basically going for home ownership, right?
Right.
Okay, what's the price point on it?
I don't think we've gotten that far, but location of it, I would not expect them to be much in excess of, I anticipate between 100 to 125.
So like, yeah, HUD, you let HUD set the standard, AMI or HUD set whatever.
I'm not sure if they would or not. I mean, it's just really the market would.
You said, so these will be affordable, correct?
Affordable, yes. I mean, it'd be for first-time homeowners who submit, meet the requirements.
These would be subject to the less than 80% MFI standards set forth by the zoning code.
Okay. And these homes ADA compliant?
We are not currently proposing an ADA entrance into the homes. We have, that is the discussion point, a comment that was raised during planning commission, and that we need to look into further as potential options to do that. It's pretty constrained at the moment to provide, you know, between the rear of the properties and what's proposed there. And the front currently is designed in order to try to fit the character of the neighborhood with the front porch area, a step or two up into each unit. And, you know, we can look into some options there. I think at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're providing something that's in character at the neighborhood and not, you know, going above and beyond to try and put some sort of elaborate entrance into these as well, keeping them in line with the rest of what's along the street there.
Thank you, that's all the questions I have, thanks.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the only thing I want to add to what I've already said is that, yeah, if we get the approvals, the financing's in place, we're gonna break ground in the spring, so we're ready to go. That's all I'm gonna add.
Yes, just had a question about the parking agreement. Is there, what is the term for that agreement?
They've agreed to allow us to let's see. If it doesn't interfere with their services, so I guess it's, you know, basically any time but Sunday morning that the tenants can park at their space. They're going to allocate a number of spaces. I think it's as many as 8.
So you said they could park there as long other than Sunday service.
Yeah.
Got you. So it's not really like, okay. And then I guess, what is the current length of that agreement?
That's a good question. I should have reviewed before I came in here.
My recollection is that it's a draft agreement or in draft form at this point, pending the approvals of, you know, the city, and that upon, I think, receiving all final approvals, that a final agreement would be proposed between the church and the applicant that would have more detailed literature in that, how the length of which that lease would cover.
Okay.
With regard to that, Mr. Hobbs and Mr. Knight, there's not a requirement, it's not a condition that this applicant obtain that lease with the church. So in other words, if this is request is granted, it's granted for the 2 spaces to be, you know, basically on street. Like if that, they're gonna try to work out something, I think, but if it doesn't work out, then there's still.
And I would note, to that point, there are bus lines that run along the street in front, and while there's, I would say, less available on-street parking on South 16th Street, if you go across the street to North 16th Street, there is generally more available on-street parking. So between the bus routes and the available on-street parking and the draft lease agreement that the applicants have, you know, we feel that they've met their burden of proof for the relief from the off-street parking.
Yep, that's all I had.
I've got one more question for you. Never get away with this. The owner of the property is Redevelopment Authority, correct? Yeah. The people are going to be doing the construction. Who's their backer? Who's doing the financing for the construction of these 4 buildings?
Okay, we've so far we've had funding from PHF, yeah, a fair.
PHFC,
Yeah,
right?
PHFA.
We got neighborhood assistance from Mid-Penn Bank and M&T Bank. Most recently, we received the money that's allocated through the city about 2 weeks ago. Got some funding there. So right now we're about $1.3 million, $1.4 million. We've got another fair application going into PHFA here in another 2 weeks or another month probably.
Yeah, the reason I ask, because $1.3, $1.4 million it's coming in for this construction, but those buildings, you're going to sell them, 125,000. So somebody's taking a shaving on this.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's not a good business plan.
Okay.
But just so you understand, though, that when the buyer's buying, there'll be contingencies and warranties in the deeds that they aren't allowed to cash out. And
Right.
if they do,
They
they have to
can-
offer it back to us first, and yeah, like 18, 20 years. If they sell within that period of time, we get the we get the chance to match the offer or something to that effect.
Okay, so there's no deed restriction saying, because I think I was been involved with one with Tri-County, and they bought it, they can't flip that house for 7 years. Can't
Okay.
sell it.
Yeah.
Because of what they use, how they got their financing.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those funders do put that right in their, in the loan documents.
Okay, well, thank you.
Do you have any questions? No? Okay. Is the board, I think they've. Do you want to make a motion?
I make a motion for applicant 2618, it be approved with the notations and exceptions granted by the planning commission.
Okay. Mr. Phipps made a motion to grant the variance and special exception request with regards to 1605 to 1613 Market Street with the conditions set forth by the Harrisburg Planning Commission in the resolution. Is there a second?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, you'll receive a written decision within 45 days.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay? And as soon as our stenographer is ready, we'll have the last application. Okay. Okay, next is application number 2619. It's a special exception application for 1909 North Front Street. This property is zoned Riverfront RF. And it was filed by David Butcher of WCI Partners LP. The purpose of this special exception request is to convert the existing office building to a multifamily dwelling in the RF district. I'm going to mark some exhibits for expediency's sake. Exhibit B1 is the proof of publication. Time and place and particular nature of this matter was advertised in the Patriot News, and that appeared on October 5th and October 12th, 2025. Board Exhibit number 2 is the letter dated October 16, 2025, from Planning Director Jeffrey Knight to the applicant. Board Exhibit number 3 is the hearing notice, evidence of it being posted upon the property in question on September 25th, 2025. Board Exhibit number 4 is the notification letters to the required neighbors and certificate of mailing. Board Exhibit number 6 is the application packet with the attached narrative, plans for the proposal, and letters of support from the Harrisburg Historic Association and the Old Uptown Neighborhood Association. Board Exhibit number 6 is the agreement of sale for the property establishing the applicant's standing to pursue zoning relief this evening. Board Exhibit number 7 is the deed to the property identifying the seller as the current owner of the property. Board Exhibit number 8 is the Planning Bureau case report. Board Exhibit number 9 is the City of Harrisburg Planning Commission resolution. And then for the applicant this evening is you, Mr. Butcher?
Yes.
Okay. David Butcher, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you'll give before this board is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Knight, do you want to give a summary?
Sure. So the zoning issues related to case 2619 are a special exception for the applicant to convert the existing office building into a 60-unit multifamily dwelling use. The proposed use requires zoning hearing board approval of a special exception per section 7-305.7 of the zoning code. So this application is similar to some of the other ones that the board has reviewed in recent months as far as conversion of office space to residential units. So, a trend that's very evident throughout the city, particularly in downtown and midtown, of as some of these larger businesses are decamping for the suburbs, leaving behind office space that needs a new use, and the demand for office space, as you've heard, here at tonight's meeting and past meetings, is significantly decreased, and there is a concurrent increasing demand for housing units. This is a bit different in that this is a purpose-built office building. It's not a conversion of residential to office and then now back to residential. This is a more modern building. I think it was built in 1983. The applicant is, seeking to just trying to find a viable reuse for this. The proposed 60-unit apartment building is, in the Planning Bureau's perspective, a good use for this, especially because it's a larger building, so it might be difficult to find a commercial tenant. It's on the riverfront, so it's taking advantage of, the amenities there, the views, and the access to Riverfront Park. The applicant will be providing the requisite amount of off-street parking on site. So the parking shouldn't be a concern for neighborhood residents. So all of that being said, the Planning Commission has recommended the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request with the following conditions. The applicant will receive approval of the lot consolidate of the land development plan submitted concurrently with the zoning relief application, and any departmental recommendations or conditions of approval applied to that review. And the applicant has provided that, and that should be going before the city council by the end of the year. The Planning Commission recommends the Zoning Hearing Board approve the request for the following reasons. By adaptively reusing an office building along the riverfront corridor through conversion to residential units, the project conforms to the goals, objectives, and action items in the comprehensive plan and the purpose of the riverfront zoning district as outlined in section 7-305.4G of the zoning code. The project site is located in a mixed-use corridor with nearby residential, commercial, and institutional uses, and there are only minor proposed exterior changes to the building and site, and thus the proposed multifamily dwelling use should not have an adverse impact on the neighborhood. And finally, the proposed development will add new residents to the neighborhood to activate the street on nights and weekends and grow customer base to support local businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Mr. Butcher, do you want to tell us why you're here?
Yes, Dave Butcher with WCI Partners. We are proposing the project of the conversion of an office building to 60 units, as Mr. Knight said. The building has served for about 20 years as the headquarters for Hersha Hospitality. That company has been sold, and they are relocating the corporate headquarters somewhere else. So they're selling this site. They had looked for other potential office users for a while and hadn't found anything. So then we had entered into conversations with them about purchasing and converting it to 60 units. It was formerly, before it was an office building, a nursing home / facility, so it was a rehab facility basically. So each of the apartments that you see here was essentially 2 rooms within the hospital. So there were 2 bathrooms within each of these units, 2 bedrooms, and just a small demising wall that served as a rehab facility. So it had 120 rooms with 120 residents. We're using some of that structural layout. Each window bay kind of lays out with the structural columns. So we're able to use that footprint of each unit, but rather than it being for 2 residents, it would be 1 unit, essentially. That's project in a nutshell.
Board have any questions?
Okay, one or two times, so I really don't have a lot of questions to ask about this. Again, you said 60, it's gonna be 60 apartments, 1 bedrooms, correct? Or all 1 bedrooms, okay. And they have all the facilities inside, it's already parking lots there, and landscaping, that's where, and you're in the flood zone, but you're gonna use the existing building, so there's no construction costs per se.
And if I may, on the flood zone, because the building was built in '83, they were cognizant of the FEMA maps. So the first finished floor is 20 inches above the base flood elevation. So was very helpful in making a determination on this.
And these are, there's no basement, this is all above.
Correct, there's no basement. There is a small sprinkler room on the side, which we're going to be in discussions with Mr. Knight and FEMA to figure out what to do with that exactly.
This is a side question, so, let's look at the aesthetics inside the building, each of the units. Utilities are going, these are apartments, so are utilities going to be included into the lease, or there's going to be, their own electric, I don't think it's a gas, and it says almost all, it should be all electric.
Right, all electric. Yeah, typically we include water, and then electric is sub-metered separately.
This is a crazy question. Did you ever think about solar cells because of where you're located at?
Yes.
On the riverfront, putting some type of solar panels on the top?
It's not a crazy question. I have been thinking about that, and the state provides what are called SRECs, state credits for those. So it's something I want to explore for this as we're going through the construction phase, yeah.
Maybe reach out to the city, get the excess ones we took off of 7th Street.
I don't
kept
know where
all that
those are
equipment.
anymore.
Yeah, we kept all that equipment and everything else, and there you go. But that's all, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Just a couple questions. So what, I'm assuming this wasn't mentioned, so I guess they probably fall within the requirements for parking?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. What is that for this?
It would be 72 parking spaces.
Okay, cool. And I was just wondering, these are all market rate
Yeah.
units? Okay, all right. Yeah, that's all I have.
Any other questions for Mr. Butcher? I think he's completed his case. Would the board like to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to accept the special exception request for application 2619 with the conditions set forth by the planning commission.
Okay, moved by Mr. Hobbs. Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Congratulations. You'll get a written decision within 45 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, Mr. Phipps, you can conclude the meeting tonight.
Okay, so make a motion to basically adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?